Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by Kimberly Wallace.
Hello.
And then Andrew Reiner.
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Perfect. We have a lot to cover in this episode.
Yes, we do.
Finally, we can talk about Horizon Zero Dawn. Kim and I traveled to Amsterdam in that one country that no one can remember, and we got to see a lot of this game, and it's our new cover story. So we're going to be rolling out features throughout the month, but Kim and I are going to talk about what we saw, what we think, what's cool, what's not cool, everything that you'd possibly want to know about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Everything's cool.
We'll get to it. And then later on, we're going to talk about the big PlayStation meeting that happened on Wednesday.
Yes.
The meeting of the century, where they announced the PlayStation 4 Pro.
And the officially unveiled the Slim, or whatever it's called.
That's right. I think I saw that
the
3
new
years
standard.
ago, is how my brain remembers it. So we're going to talk all about that, what 4K means for the PlayStation family, all that fun stuff. We should talk about also Apple's keynote from yesterday, because it turns out Mario is going to be on an iPhone very soon.
It's amazing.
Very, very strange.
The future's here.
I don't know how I feel about this yet.
Well, we'll work out your feelings. It'll be a big therapy session for
Okay.
Reiner. Talk a little bit about Tomorrow Children on PS4 that Reiner's been raving about.
Oh, man. Just can't wait to share those details.
You're like a Metal Gear Solid guard that's just been walking around the office with a question mark above your head. Like, I guess I played it. I don't exactly know.
Did that grass move?
At some point, how about at the end of the first segment, we should also announce the next game club.
What?
That'll be
I don't
exciting.
That's too much for one episode.
Whoa.
It's going to be a lot.
I don't know. I don't think I know what it is.
Oh, really?
I do, but I don't. It was like you told me weeks ago, but you changed your mind on stuff. So.
That's true. Who can say?
Yeah.
And then we're going to get to some fun emails. And then after that, we're going to be joined by Surreal, JV, and Dan Tack, because they've been all over the world. They were at PAX West. They were at the Call of Duty experience, the big old XP.
Yep.
So Surreal's going to talk about like the Call of Duty 4 remaster, the Modern Warfare remaster that he's very excited about. Dan Tack played the first 3 hours of Final Fantasy 15.
Wow.
Kim.
Yeah, I heard he bashed Prompto.
Not necessarily.
Is Prompto the shirtless one?
No,
They're all going to be
they're all
shirtless.
shirtless.
Okay, I read Dan Tack's preview on the site, and he was pretty harsh on my Prompto. So
Oh boy, this
Just-
old debate
Yeah,
about which
I had to
characters are yours.
people write in and say how mean Ben is to me because he makes fun of me for liking Prompto. Please.
I don't know. I just think, at a certain point, people outgrow calling characters as theirs. That's my point. But you double down on it being your Prompto. You guys can run off in holy matrimony. It'll be
I
very
just said
sweet.
this weekend I get real when I like a character, I really get into it. I really got into a video game romance in Trail of Cold Steel, by the way, too.
Oh, that's right.
Trails
We're
of
talking
Cold
about
Steel,
this. I'm writing
too.
it down. This is a new RPG that we can slip in amongst all this exciting news. Because the PS3 is alive and well, everybody.
It's on Vita. That's
Okay.
alive and well, too, right?
Is it?
No.
Okay. We should get into some juicy stuff.
And then I'm going to announce the new Super Replay.
Oh.
Wait,
he
there's
just
one going
upstaged
on.
You.
Okay. Who knows what
Just
can
make it
happen.
it's the longest show ever.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Let's
Let's
keep
get
it
into
going.
something new, though. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
This is the cover story. We unveiled it on Tuesday. Weeks and weeks ago, I don't know when the hell it was, Kim and I secretly flew out to Amsterdam and
Yes.
the cover of night, just the two of us, and went to Guerrilla Games. It was really great to finally interact with that studio.
Yeah, they're so cool.
Would you hit like the elevator button a bunch? Was that how you interacted with?
That's right,
this
you slam
studio?
against it. If that's a Killzone joke, I wouldn't know it because I've never really
Nope.
played a Killzone.
Nah, it's just
game in
glowing
my life.
eyes.
Oh, perfect.
What I will say what was interesting about it is you walk into their office and just their whole identity is kind of Killzone, and Killzone stuff is everywhere. And then you're like, wait a second, but they're making an action RPG now with Horizon, and you kind of see like Horizon flanking through like all the Killzone stuff a little bit. Like
It's almost like Killzone is like the decrepit old buildings in that studio, and then there's little leaves and bits of grass emerging through the landscape, and that is the
Yes.
Horizon foliage breaking
yeah,
through.
it's breaking through. I mean, it just kind of re-cemented to me like what a big risk they are taking. Like
Yeah.
you don't hear of many developers just being like, you know what, we've done like a first-person shooter for a decade. Let's just go and do an action RPG.
It's really mind-boggling. And that was also my biggest takeaway, is just being in the halls of that studio and like abstractly for the last 2 E3s, we've seen Horizon. You think, boy, the Killzone people are making this cool looking dinosaur robot action RPG. That's interesting. But to really just spend a week, I mean, at least a week traveling and just thinking about it and being immersed and talking through how they're pulling this off. It is one of the most impressive new IPs out there. And it just is like this tidal wave of excitement of like, holy crap, how are you guys doing this? You're leaving Killzone behind, and of all the new IP, it's just such a crazy bold move.
Yeah, and the thing that really shines through is like they're just so excited about this project. They're just like, you know what? That is a really cool idea. We're just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And not like, in development, people don't want to take risks like that. I mean, they had to like build a whole new engine for open world to pull this off. They hired a bunch of people who worked on like Witcher and Fallout, and hired like a new writer to help them with it. I mean, they really had to rebuild up their studio to make sure they could pull something like this off. But they also had like a bunch of RPG fans in the studio, which I didn't realize, who they were like, they're already playing a lot of RPGs, and then they kind of brought those ideas. I think when me and Ben were asking them like what their favorite RPGs was, we heard a lot of Skyrims, a lot of Fallout 3s, yeah. So I just thought that was cool. I mean, this is not something that we hear of very often in the industry.
When I was at Naughty Dog a couple of years ago, talking Uncharted 4,
we were both there.
They kept referencing Guerrilla as like everybody thinks Naughty Dog's like the most talented studio in terms of like tech and all that stuff, but they were blown away by Guerrilla being able to launch Killzone with the PlayStation 4. They're like, those guys have chops; they can do anything they want, and clearly they're showing that by just shifting genres just on the fly in between projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I went back and played like the opening hour or so of Killzone Shadowfall just before this trip, just to be like, what is this studio capable of? And that game still looks gorgeous. And just seeing them apply that to an insane open world, like the NeoGAF forums and comments on our website and whatnot were just blown away by the new footage that we have, like our coverage trailer and a gameplay video that went up Wednesday and stuff. People just being like, there's no way a game can look this good and be in an open world. It's impossible. But they don't even need the PS4 Pro in theory to pull this off. Like, it is a really, really good looking game.
Yeah.
That studio is technically brilliant for sure. So what did we actually see, Kim?
We saw a new part in the opening of the game. So we got to see side quests. So we kind of get to see how Aloy goes off on her journey, and what kind of takes her a little bit on her path of going to this thing called the Proving, which is kind of like a rite of passage, we should say. Yeah, kind of. She's coming of age. I mean, that's kind of the age that they give for her. It's not specific, but just, she's maturing, and this is like her way of going into the tribe and earning the right. If she wins it, she can obviously go and ask a big question, which is, who were her parents? She was a little orphan girl who nobody knows. Like, she was shunned at birth. And
she's an outcast in the village. It's a big deal. They say it constantly.
Yes, they do.
That's a new thing for RPGs, by the way.
Right. And also,
orphaned, outcast child.
Sit down, Renner. You're not going to believe this. The monsters in the world are getting more dangerous.
What? Someone better stand up and help.
But to be fair, they are robot dinosaurs, so it's super cool again. Okay. Everything's fine.
Yeah, it's very cool. But yeah, so we kind of get to see what puts her on the path of her journey, and got to take on a cool side quest that kind of gives us an idea of what the side content's like in the game. So we did see a lot of that. We got to talk with the writers about kind of what they're going for the story, and I'm pretty impressed with how much of the lore they're kind of building up in this world. They're trying to keep a lot of it a mystery for you to figure out.
A lot of it, yeah.
I think that's the only thing that's like, it's for you to uncover, and they really don't want to spoil kind of. They said it's all going to make sense in the end, which I hope. But
man, I hope I find a lot of journals. I'm looking forward to that.
They're like, we are doing science fiction. We are not doing any fantasy. There's not going to be any magic in this game. So it's all going to make sense. So I wonder.
They're really, and I like that they're teasing how much of a surprise the revelations are going to be, as for like, oh, it'll all be explained why there's robot dinosaurs roaming around this world, and why they're modeled after like creatures that existed on Earth years ago.
I have a feeling it's got to be some type of evolution thing. That's my theory.
You're in VR. You're in VR. I'm calling it right now. You're in PlayStation VR.
It could.
About time they got some buzz going for it.
And you beat the game, get a discount.
Some Assassin's Creed on us with that, right?
Yeah. So one of the things is that the machines. Like the herbivores have this stuff called blaze, like green canisters. You can see it in some of the videos and whatnot. And you can like shoot it off and pick it up. And they seem to imply that was somehow connected to the larger mystery. Because, like, why are there herbivores? Why are machines grazing? Why do they need to consume grass? What could that mean? Maybe that's tied to the larger mystery. So there's little hints here and there, and they promise it's going to be interesting. We'll see. So in the hands-on demo, like you said, we did this big quest kind of leading up to the proving. We didn't get to see the proving and the big trial.
I was mad about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be Coliseum-like or something like that.
Yeah.
But the actual proving then, like it seemed like, before the proving, it kind of built up to a big battle between you and a new machine called a Sawtooth.
Yes, which is like a saber-toothed tiger, a type of robot that kind of pounces. And what did you say I said? I remember you wrote down in your notes, you're like, oh, Kim cringed or something.
I wrote, I like took notes of everything we saw, and then I went back and looked at it this morning, and it just said Kim flinching. And then Kim, quote, "You won't let me see the proving?" So that was how you experienced that. So it's like, there's a lot of that thing jumping around, but other cool machines we saw. My favorite,
the Scrapper,
is the Scrapper, which is like a hyena.
Yeah.
Just because they make effed up, scary sounds when you see them at night and they have like glowing eyes.
And they do these laser eyes at you.
Okay, the laser eyes, that's like the key sound, and so like they'll just be behind you, and all of a sudden you'll hear it charging up like a. And then it just launches this laser beam. So you just are constantly rolling around as these freaky hyenas are running all over the place. Really cool. So not everything in this game is based on a dinosaur. There's a lot of...
Yeah, we saw the Glinthawk too, which was like that flying... that was throwing ice bombs at us. The flying hawkbird, sorry.
Yeah, and it drops...
Hawkbird.
Hawkbird.
You know.
Well, I was trying to think of the hawk as a bird. Machine hawk, we'll call it. Machine hawk.
It drops giant ice bombs that you have to dodge, and it's weird to see giant mechanical birds dropping ice bombs like turds throughout this
sound like Mega Man villains.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, what's kind of cool about it too is if you hit the bomb as it's in the air, you can like make their own bomb explode on them. So it's like...
It is cool. Yeah, and that was part of a larger desert environment, which I think the director was playing through and kind of showing off what you can do in that environment. There's a lot of Glinthawks roaming around, and it was all part of these like hunting trials.
Yes.
It feels a little bit like Final Fantasy 12. There's like little quests and whatnot if you want to go and try and hunt these guys down.
Yeah, they said it helps you kind of figure out, it'll test you with certain weapons and show you kind of different ways to excel at using them. So it'll be like, you have to use this weapon and kill so many in, I don't know, like a minute or something. And me and Ben were watching it. It was like insane how many creatures they put on the screen at once of all these machines just like coming at you.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
The Watcher is the kind of the raptor looking one that they've shown in plenty of videos. And I was so in love when like we walked around and kind of got like a walkthrough of how they create these people or how they create the machines, walking through different skill sets and whatnot amongst the studio. And we're watching like the animator's little demo and just seeing like the Watchers and the way they move is so fascinating. And I was asking like, God, the way they jump is so cool. How'd you guys come up with that? And then we're like, oh, it's 80% just watching Lost World Jurassic Park. Because like the way that the Watchers jump is like they kind of move sideways through the air. And it looks so cool. And it's like, that's why I like that machine. Because it reminds me of raptors in Lost World. Okay, got it. Done. Ryder, you must be excited about this.
Yeah, I am. I have a question for you. Like every time I've seen the game, I've been a little concerned about the open world because it looks beautiful, but I never see stuff to do. Like it's very mountainous, all about the scenery, kind of establishing that, kind of these vistas and these views. And you bring up a desert, and that made me even more concerned. Like, are you starting to see that density? Do you know kind of how this world's stitched together in terms of keeping you occupied and giving you things to do yet?
We saw those hunting trials.
Did we mention the hunting trials?
No, I'm talking about corruption zones too.
Yeah.
You can clear those out, kind of like Infamous, where you clear those zones and free the area so they're less dangerous.
So there's a bunch of different things you do.
And there's
each
side
zone?
quests. There's events that just happen in the environment where you just hear like someone calling for your help, kind of, and you can go in and help them. And then there's certain side quests that you do that
like
you pick up.
One of them that we had, there's somebody who wanted a spear.
Yeah, her spear was
after?
stuck. Her dead mom's spear was stuck in a machine, and so she chased after it. So we had to get it back for her. But you know what? It gave us a cool upgrade.
So it was worth helping out this poor soul.
Yes.
So it's still a little mysterious, like all the different side quests and stuff?
They told me at the cover story there was still like 2 or 3 more that they weren't ready to talk about yet that they're going to announce. So I'm interested to see what else those are. But I did get excited. I was talking to them more about the side quests and just asking like, oh, you have a dialogue wheel. Will there be any choice in this world with how, is it just dialogue to pick like just what she's going to say. And while it will give you more narrative, certain quests you will have, you can make a decision on sometimes whether to kill people or help or all that. And I think they have some interesting ways that they're coming up to make the side quests like believable with the world as well. And certain actions you do over the course of the game might have, they said, later consequences. Now I want to say I wouldn't like put it with the choice and consequence of like The Witcher or anything, but there will be some of that in there.
Yeah, I mean, that is the big question, is like these people moving from first-person shooter realm into an action RPG. It's like, how much can they fill out this world? Like a studio's first open world is a crazy challenge. As talented as that studio is, there's always little things in the back of a gamer's mind, like, is this going to be rich? Is it going to be just an empty world moving from place to place?
Does it just look beautiful? Yeah.
Right. And if it looked beautiful, that's enough for me. But it seems like they're very aware of it. And they're going to try and pack that world full. Yeah, definitely. It is going to be, there's a couple gates in the world. So you can't go everywhere right out of the gate. So I guess there's 2 different gates in the world that you have to kind of maneuver through at a certain point that are checked off to different games, different points in the game. Another cool thing that I'm really excited about, just a tiny detail, is the Thunderjaw, the big T-Rex guy. He can destroy trees when he runs around. Like, that's enough for me.
How does it look? Is it like, do they splinter and explode, or they just fall over?
It'll look cool. I forget if they actually showed it to us in that little demo. We showed like a tech demo of it running around. But I guess like it can blow open a path through the trees, and if you're hiding in the trees, then it'll let smaller machines go through as well and like use the path that the Thunderjaw cleared.
The AI is very smart. I was really impressed by that. I mean, I set down like a tripwire. And I remember thinking, oh, I totally got this. And the enemy immediately jumped over it. And I was like, I was so mad. I finally got this. Because you get put in the world. And actually something else that surprised me was I was worried about how long it would take me to adjust to the controls and everything, because there's a lot going on in front of you. But then you start to get the hang of the different tools that you have. And like, I love that tripwire. I love setting it down, stunning enemies, and then going up and doing like a cool melee instant death attack. But that time, that was like my one strat. I'm like, oh my gosh, the thing just jumped over it. And then there's all these points that you can climb too in the world. There's a little bit of platforming here and there. And I think we saw some of that, more of that today at the yesterday at the PlayStation event.
Yeah.
But you can go up on these. So I would go up on these mountains and try to like throw down different tripwires and stuff to like plan ahead of time. But if like a machine spots you, it'll try, and it sees you up there, it'll come after you. Like, it's not just going to like sit on the ground and be like, I'm gonna wait for you to come. No, once it's there, it brings everybody with it too. Cause like the grazers, and the watchers will like alert other machines to come help you. Like, the ecosystem is really intense. So I found myself using a bunch of different tactics. I mean, I tried to do as much stealth as I could, but like, it's hard to do some of the stealth because of the fact that even if you think you've got machines every which way, and all it takes is one of them to spot you and alert the other, and it's chaotic and it's just fun. I'm really excited. They said like later you can get like a grenade launcher, and I think that's going to be cool, just to like go in there hardcore.
So they are going to empower you to be like, okay, you don't need to just hang out in the grass. Like, we're going to give you the means to take these things down without pinning them.
They always want it to feel dangerous, is the way they put it in a video we launched earlier in the week. But there's always going to be strategies to defeat these people. But the more you go off the path, the more dangerous the monsters and machines are going to be along the way. But yeah, I'm excited. It's fun to see the hype really, really building on forums and whatnot, with people just being like, Game of the Year 2017, it can't be topped, forget Breath of the Wild, it's garbage now.
When does it come out? It's March, right?
February 28th.
And I feel like going into this, I was pretty skeptical they're going to hit that, but all signs seem to be that they're on track. I mean, it'd be tough to pick it up if they weren't on track. But
it was supposed to be this year.
It was supposed to be. Yep.
So this is the pushback date.
And I mean, they launched Killzone Shadowfall launch on PS4. Like, they can hit a timing window if they really have to. And I feel like they can probably hit it in February, but I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, I was super impressed. I also was skeptical about how much, like, as an RPG fan, is there going to be stuff here that I'm going to love? And I was impressed by what they had with different side quests that you're going to be able to do. Even like just doing, like, it doesn't have anything that's too complex, I feel like, for people who don't play RPGs, but there's enough there. So you get all these different upgrades on the equipment that you can kind of improve your handling, the damage you do with it. You also have different ammo types you can collect too, which are all elemental that are cool, like fire bullets or
Everything you want.
Yeah, and the crafting is just super, super cool too, because there's like animals you hunt. So it's very, I don't know, it has so much that I like from other games in it. So I feel like we've got like the stealth that I like from Assassin's Creed. I feel like the Far Cry with the hunting and crafting your stuff. That's really fun from that.
You're a big Transformers fan.
Oh, yeah.
Dinobots
you know
specifically.
That. You know that. Okay. And then just from Witcher 2, you even have like the Witcher sense that you use to track stuff. There's even, she has a tracking ability too that she can do and, figure out where things are. There's so much that I'm excited about and I want to see. So I'm excited for how it turns out.
Is there anything you're worried about?
I'm
Reiner, yes, please take it away.
Well, you said you're happy with the side quests. Can you go into that a little bit? Are they kind of short, like go get that spear, just hunt down that beast, or are they more elaborate, story-driven,
so
Witcher-esque?
From what we talked to them about, there are some that are definitely short like that, like Go Trek. Like the one we did was pretty fast. They also said there are more elaborate ones as you go on that even like you'll do a thread
Get 3 spears.
Oh,
you'll do like one story thread of it, and then you'll open up like a quest line.
Sure.
So then there's like more that you'll see that character again in a later side quest. So I'm excited to see how. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as like The Witcher 3 with all those side quests, but there's like so much in that that I didn't do everything because there was too much.
So is that fair to say you're worried about the side quests?
No, I thought they looked fine.
All right.
Well, I didn't get to experience like enough of the more story ones because those I don't know how those arcs are going to be just because of the fact that we're only there for a short time and we can't obviously play through like multiple sections of one. But I think what I'm concerned about, if there's anything, is how this story is going to kind of play out. I think I was worried that there wasn't much of a story, and then we got here and it seemed like in the studio they're putting a lot of effort into making a really good story for an open world. Now, whether or not they do that or not is another story because another stoop. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm super excited. I think the world is awesome. The idea is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it looks awesome. Dinosaurs are awesome. Mm-hmm. Everything's awesome. The biggest question mark for me is the story and the writing.
Well, yeah, and I just don't want it to be like, oh, it's going to make sense, but then you're just like, well, that's not really that cool, in the end. Or like Aloy, like I like that she's kind of started on this path of like just being this outcast who doesn't really have a stake or claim in any of the world or the different tribes that are in it. Okay, so she's not like, I'm on board with this and this is my belief. She's always been on her own, but I wonder, is she going to have interesting characters to play off of throughout the journey? There's
Rost in the beginning. It was kind of like her father figure.
That was the only one we saw.
Red hair.
Mm-hmm.
Orphan.
Right.
Orphan Annie.
Go on.
You know where I'm going with this.
Oh, it's a hard.
It is the story of Annie. That's all it is. With dinosaurs.
This is the most abstract representation of Annie
they
ever
should play like
a video game.
A heavy metal version of Hard Knocks Life at the end of it.
Well,
I'm super into that right
my
now.
other worry is that they keep teasing like how this, like they want you to discover the mysteries of this world, but are the mysteries going to be like that exciting once you figure them out? Like they're trying to keep so much back. So I just want it to be something that I'm just be like, that's really cool, or I'm glad they thought about this on like a scientific level, and it feels like they're doing that, but whether or not that comes together in a video game can be difficult.
Big picture, and then also small picture, like little glimpses and like trailers and stuff, or like little conversations we saw in the demo. It's a little bit like, I don't know if I'm sold by the writing so far and the characters. It's just not quite there.
I think I'm in love with Aloy already.
Really?
Because
she's yours.
She claimed her.
I claimed her. No, she just seems awesome. I like having, like I said, somebody who's had to rise above her hard life and has
compared to other video game characters that just give up on having a hard life and just stay at home.
They just have a great life, and then something comes in and is chaotic. She's already had a pretty raw deal dealt to her. I mean,
Right.
imagine if you grew up and were shunned by everybody and no one would tell you why.
I'd be more concerned about
Story
the
of my
robotic
life.
T-Rex coming in through my window, but yeah, it's a tough life. It's a tough life.
But I mean, she's pretty good with that bow, so
That's true.
Yeah, and Kim, moving forward, whenever you claim someone, you got to put someone else back on the table. So Sora is back here.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's like you only have one slot for claiming.
Well, she
a
could have
character.
two. She evolved
no,
to
I
that
can
point.
have many.
So who is your character? You're allowed to claim 2.
Oh no, I can't do that.
Oh,
Persona
no.
5's coming up too. I'm going to claim somebody from there.
then you gotta get rid of someone.
I can't wait.
No, I'm really happy. I actually pre-ordered that collector's edition because that freaking statue of Aloy is awesome.
Oh, I haven't even seen.
Oh
this.
God, it's so cool.
Good. So we have an entire month's worth of content rolling
Yeah.
out. Gameformer.com/Horizon. We talk about how crazy it is that this team is tackling an action RPG. We have a video going up next week that's all about the development history that I think is going to be pretty good. It's only half
Interesting.
put together right now, but good interviews over there. Some good, smart folks. Which with things posting throughout the month are you excited
Oh
about, Kim?
yeah. I have a profile on my girl Aloy. Found out some more information there.
Shocking.
My girl. That I'm excited about. We'll have some hands-on coming up tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm actually going to have a chat with Jeff Macchiafava. Had actually covered a lot of this during E3, and he played a portion also that I saw. I saw newer stuff that he didn't see, but I think it's cool that we both are so excited for this game and kind of the stuff we liked about it, the stuff we're kind of like, okay, we'll have to see where this goes.
Yeah.
And there was the PlayStation Pro footage that they showed of it.
Right. We didn't.
Where-
get
Yeah,
to see that ahead of
I
time.
saw that and I was like, why didn't they show that to us at the
Probably
cover
because it was
story?
involved
They
with the
were
PlayStation
teasing,
Pro.
Yeah, they were teasing like more platforming elements, and we saw a little bit of the platforming when we were there. Her climbing up mountains, you can see.
But nothing as cool as climbing a tall neck Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah,
style.
I was like, holy,
Yeah, that thing
like that was like,
a
oh my gosh.
giant giraffe with a saucer on its head.
And we've seen that. I mean, from the earliest leaked images, we've seen that, and it's been in the last 2 E3 videos. It's like, okay, the giant giraffe brachiosaurus thing, it's cool, but then
then
like
you get
seeing
to
it in a
climb
PlayStation
it.
Pro, but just like being that close to it as it's walking, like that is just nerd chills up my spine.
Yeah.
Like heavy footprints. Then you have to climb that thing. That looks so good.
It did, and she was wearing a different outfit.
Yep. So that's the
Oh,
thing.
that's the thing. All her armor will be reflected physically on her, so you'll have different outfits to put on her.
Legend of the
throughout
Gaia
journey.
style. I think they officially call it.
Oh,
Every developer out there, by the way, has to do that.
yeah, I think that's so cool. Like if you get a new armor, it should freaking be on your character.
Yeah, show it.
Agreed.
We love it.
PlayStation meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's cover this whole thing.
Okay.
PlayStation Pro. They announced this.
Slim.
PlayStation Slim. They showed off little Aloy climbing up a tall neck. They
Come on,
showed
Mass Effect.
Andromeda stuff. We'll get into all this crap.
Okay.
So out of the gate, PlayStation 4 Slim confirmed. They didn't actually mention like
$299?
the new controller at all, but those leaks and whatnot they kind of unveiled. It
Yeah.
has a new light bar and stuff. Nothing too radically different. But yeah, $299. Cool. And that's the new standard PS4. So the old standard's going away. Now it's just going to be the Pro model and the Slim model. So we finally got the unveiling of the Neo, the PlayStation Neo. What did you guys think of the whole presentation?
You know what? I think it's really hard for us when we're watching stuff on streams because you have like these grainy streams and you're supposed to be seeing like these HD,
Beyond HD.
beyond HD images. I'm more interested. I said this during the press conference. I'm not like super into graphics. Sorry to make you upset here. Are you super like
no,
I
not at
care
all.
about how a game
I'm seething.
how a game plays, and so seeing all footage of games that kind of had been in the past, and I was like, I can't tell on my stream if this looks that much better.
You'll never be able to tell. Yeah.
It's telling that we come out of that not talking about specs, talking about like Aloy climbed this Shadow of the Colossus
No, it was
monster.
all, and it was all
awesome.
about the games that I saw that got
Right.
me excited because I was like, all right, that looked awesome with Horizon. Mass Effect looked cool, but I'm still kind of not sure what I was supposed to take out of that. Like I didn't sit there and be like, all right, I need to upgrade. I'm sure I will because I am getting the 4K TV.
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. John, my fiance, is like, we gotta get one.
This is the time, I guess.
he wants to upgrade, so I'll just mooch off him.
Somehow I haven't even seen one yet, but this was, I think,
It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's better. I'm sure it's great. But this is the big problem is, this big unveiling. Everyone was super excited. PlayStation event. Oh my God. Seeing the Neo. This is going to be crazy. And then it's just Mark Cerny, who I love with a fiery passion, just getting out and politely talking about the range of what the human eyeball can see. And technically this is better. Trust us. It didn't hit. It didn't really get me excited at all.
I think that was smart of them though. Whereas when Microsoft unveiled the Slim at E3, they were just like, UHD, HDR, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Yeah, these things are in it. And you're like, okay, that's cool.
But what
if
does
you're a
it
tech
mean?
guy or a tech person, you knew like, okay, that's cool. They got HDR. That's big. And UHD is a huge boon for them, which I believe the Pro doesn't have.
That's what reports are saying.
You could flash on the screen if I'm correct or not. But that is a major loss for Sony with
So
the Pro.
no 4K Blu-rays.
Yes. So basically there's a new format out there. There's DVD, which everybody knows, Blu-ray, which everybody knows. And now the new generation is out as of this March, last March, is UHD. And this is high-def 4K movies on disc that you could play. And the PlayStation Pro will not support that, which I think is a huge loss for them because they look amazing on 4K TVs.
But you can stream 4K.
You can. Yeah, you could do it on YouTube, Netflix. There's more providers, that are kind of built-in TVs, stuff like that too. But I think that's a big loss. I mean, right there, it's yes, discs aren't as popular as they used to be, but just having that option in your pocket is a big deal. If you want to go buy, let's say, Star Wars Episode 8 comes out on UHD, and you want the best version of it, it's not going to work on your PlayStation Pro.
Xbox One S.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's so weird, and it's still confusing to me exactly how it works. You mentioned Blu-ray 4K. 4K Blu-rays aren't going to work, but they were showing footage of like Horizon and Uncharted. Are those running natively in 4K then? I don't think they ever said that. It's just, and they showed like this montage of all these games, like Spider-Man, look at the textures on that suit. Look at Watch Dogs 2. I don't need to say anything more, they say, as they sit back and show the footage. Like, I don't know what this means. They're just showing that it looks better, but it's not going to be running? Because I cannot imagine that it's powerful enough, even with twice the CPU and twice the GPU, all this nonsense. I can't imagine it's going to be powerful enough to run all that stuff natively. So it's just upscaling?
Well, I think it's a game-to-game basis. I think Cerny kind of pointed that out. Like, developers are taking advantage of it in different ways. You see some using it to enhance, like For Honor from Ubisoft. It's the same character model, but with HDR support, it looks so much better.
Yeah.
That's just kind of built into the PlayStation hardware that's allowing this, this new range of lighting on these characters and detail to pop out, right?
Which is great. It seemed like HDR was a big selling point. But then at the end of the conference, they said, by the way, there's going to be a firmware update for all PS4s. And so all of them will support HDR.
Right.
And so it's like, well, I don't understand what I'm buying here with the Pro.
The big confusion is what they're using the extra GPU for. And it sounds like some of these developers are doing it to enhance the graphics. But seems like game by basis. It's not like, obviously Naughty Dog, one of their tech powerhouses is doing something. It was weird. Shadow of Mordor.
That's exactly.
Yeah, it was like this game that's so old news by now.
Better anti-aliasing. Look at Shadow of Mordor, everybody.
They should have revealed something out, like a new game,
like a sequel to Shadow of Mordor. Perhaps
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like a sequel or something, because it's like. I don't know. It was hard to get excited seeing old games, I guess, and not really seeing that much.
As we talk about this and have no real idea of what we're talking about, kind of speculating, trying to decipher what was there. Jeff Cork is in New York interviewing some of the developers that are there. Yeah. And his interview should be up on GameInformer.com. And we asked him a bunch of these questions to ask these devs. So hopefully... we have better answers than we do here in this podcast. And
for sure.
Apologies for that.
But I'm just saying, watching the PlayStation meeting, excited, thinking I'll probably buy a Pro, it just seemed like it needed a bullet point that I could get excited about. And it's just, things will kind of look better, I guess.
Yeah, the big confusion comes when they're like, by the way, all the existing ones can do this too. So it's like, what am I getting in the new model that I'm not getting in the old one?
It looks uglier.
I feel like though Microsoft struggled with that too, of like trying to be like, oh, we're not leaving behind, the people who aren't upgrading, but then again, it's like, well, then why would you upgrade? And I feel like this is what the confusion is like, as the public, and I'll fully admit this right here, I'm like not a huge tech person, so all this stuff is just words being thrown at me that I'm not sure what it'll mean for me as a gamer and change my experience. And I feel like both Sony and Microsoft haven't really come out and done it in a way that makes sense to me, that can speak to somebody who just like is like, yeah, I like to play my games and I like them to look good.
It's 2 pages of fine print. Like, hey, get excited. Okay.
That's my big problem with it, is that like I need to know why I should invest my money and what's this gonna like improve besides, knowing that it'll look better.
But I mean, you said you want new games. They technically unveiled gameplay for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Walking, yes.
It was walking and scanning plants and then saying, oh, these monsters are crazy. We need to access this vault.
That alien world looks so cool, though.
It does. It kind of looks like
I like that it looks
Prometheus.
different too.
I guess it's Prometheus.
Yes. I did see that. I was going to say it reminds me of something, but I think, that's...
Or it looks like when you go inside the Geth mainframe or whatever in 3, it's just a little bit technical. It's a bizarre looking world, but it's funny that still, I mean, Aaron Flynn, the head of BioWare up there, said, like, hey, this is coming early 2017. It'll support PS4 Pro. But still, I don't really have my mind around what is going on in Mass Effect Andromeda. It's like they were searching for vaults, they said, on different planets. There's 3 characters that were in that video. One was kind of the Mad Max looking Asari that we saw before briefly.
Your favorite.
That's right. They showed who I'd imagine is the new version of male Shepherd, Rider, whatever he's called. Looked a little bit like Casey Hudson, the male version, the old creative director for Mass Effect there. But outside of that, it's still like, it's a little bit like the overall conference. Like, okay, cool in theory. I don't really have anything to grasp on to get me excited about on a nerdy level. Was it just the world that did it for you, Reiner?
Well, I mean, that, and then it's just, I mean,
It's just
I don't want to,
that
that's a game I don't want to know too much going into it. And I like that mystery, but yeah, I mean, I watched it. I was like, can he do something other than, he has a jetpack. That's a new reveal, right?
Yeah, it was third person No Man's Sky, I think.
Is he going to do anything? But it was very much just a little story moment. And then, oh no, storm cloud, weird dust coming at us, run. Ended on that, and everybody's just kind of watching like, that's it? Yeah, but
hey, it's so funny that we're so starved for information on that game that anything just seems like so cool at this point. I got excited just seeing that world, and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so cool.
New universe, new characters, new monsters, new worlds. Like,
all great in theory.
But I like that what they showed looked different. Like, it wasn't just what you'd expect from like a Mass Effect.
See, I thought it looked the same. Because there was the 2 characters with you, over the shoulder, kind of the third person viewpoint.
Oh, I mean like the environment.
Oh yeah. I thought the alien world was cool.
Environments, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it's kind of like a dungeony, kind of inside-ish. Yeah, just on the landscape.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to change that. Like, bring the 2 party members in with you.
Well, that's the question. In my nuts, did I not watch it carefully enough? It seems like the 2 other party members just popped up at the end. They weren't like following you around as you were jetpacking around. I don't think you spun
or ever saw them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have been like, I don't know.
But then again,
one platform
anytime there are early demos like this, I wonder if they just don't want so much on screen because they want you to focus on like the one character, and if they will be on screen with you, or
maybe just a tech limitation now.
Yeah. I always wonder what the actual because the party banter is like some of the best stuff in Mass Effect. If they take that away, I'm gonna be mad.
Well, it's coming through your headset. It's scan the plant, Ryder, scan the plant.
So we can agree it was a strange, uneventful demo, but it was intriguing at the same time.
Not as intriguing as it could have been, but
in establishing a new world and character interaction and what's going on. Storm clouds. Galactus from Fantastic Four 2.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm still super excited about that game. It's just I just want something to grab onto. But Kim, before we talk about other doodads here and there, Trails of Cold Steel 2.
Yes.
I played the first one a little bit. It seemed like a good RPG on my PS3.
I played on the Vita.
Hold on. PlayStation Pro, $399.
That's right.
November 10th.
That's right.
Okay.
Good job.
Now let's go back to
nerdy RPG stuff.
Yeah, let's go to nerdy RPG stuff, please. That's
Trails of Cold Steel 2. How does this one stack up to the last one? What is it like?
So if you liked the first game, because this is based on a trilogy, this second game I think has some of the best story stuff they've done with it. Best character revelations and crazy insane plot twists that I haven't felt from like an RPG in a long time, where I'm like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Like, they had some good like moments where I I couldn't predict it. And I play so many RPGs at this point that I usually can predict where things are going. And then it's like, oh, I guess I maybe should have saw that coming, but you still wouldn't. So
Okay. So I mean, it has a great story.
I like the story a lot.
Okay.
I feel like that's something Falcom is really good at telling stories.
Do you
It's
play
story
as-
building, so
Do you play as an orphan?
no.
Okay.
Well,
Are the monsters getting more dangerous?
actually, never mind. Yes, you kind of do. You're adopted into a family,
okay.
so we'll put it like that. Jeez. But the one thing that drove me nuts with it, and we all know that this is sometimes, hard with RPGs, slow starts, and the second game has a really slow start. It took me 10 hours before I was like on board with it, because I was like, I just don't know about this. They take you out of the school setting, but then you get your own freaking airship, and it's your headquarters, and you recruit like all your like former classmates to kind of help you on the ship. So very Suikoden, we shall
Okay.
say. Like then they'll like run your shops on the ship. Like it's
How many
cool
people?
to see it grow up.
108?
Well, not as many as that, but I think what's interesting with this is, so if you play, like, don't go in this without playing the first game, because
Really?
you're not going to appreciate the reveals that come. Your save data from the first game also carries over. So relationships that you have in that game matter in this, and stuff that you did.
That's cool.
What's even cooler is like side quests I did with NPCs. If I go up and talk to them, like they reference that I helped them before, and kind of like it's a good like little like none of the NPCs feel like signposts, which they've done really well with in the previous Trails of the Sky game,
Yeah.
which people really like. But I appreciate that kind of detail into it.
And it's a pretty traditional RPG, just really well done.
I
Strategic battles.
I love this battle system. It is
Yeah.
a turn-based battle system, but it is freaking so done well. And
Turn you on battle system.
I mean, well, turn you on, yes. No, I'm
Wow.
kidding. I like it because the battles are challenging, and you have to pull out all stops. There's a lot of them I win by the skin of my teeth, because the AI again is smart. They'll launch like instant death attacks at you, and you're like, oh crap. Or like you'll think you have it beat, and then all of a sudden it like regenerates like half of its health, and you're like, God damn it. But you also have new systems like this overdrive system that you can use. You build up enough attacks with a linked party member, and then you like can restore all your health and launch 3 attacks consecutively, and it instantly casts all your magic, because usually it waits for a few turns to do that.
So if you want to have another traditional JRPG experience, dust off your Vita, dust off your PS3, play the gigantic first game, and then play Trails of Cold Steel 2.
Yes.
This is a lot to ask of somebody.
This
but
is
is
at
it worth
the end of the second game. I swear, I looked up, I immediately went to my computer, and I was like, when is this third game coming out? I have to see what happens in this trilogy, and saw that like it wasn't out in Japan yet. So I was like,
no.
oh no, I'm going to be waiting a little bit for this third arc. So you have time, I'm pretty sure, but based on
PlayStation
that,
5 will be out. You can dust off your PS3.
But the fact that there's rumors that they're going to put the third game on PS4.
Oh, that's
Why aren't
nice.
they on PS4?
It seems crazy.
Because in Japan, the PS4 has not taken off the way the PS3 does. They're always like one behind.
But Atlas is porting Persona 5 to PS4.
know,
like
but
it's possible.
They don't have as much money. Atlas does over there. Atlas is a big deal over there. Like they're pretty competitive with Final Fantasy and all that.
Yeah, it's coming out soon. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming out. It's coming out in September in Japan. Persona 5.
Yes,
is
oh,
yes,
yeah,
in
yeah.
Japan. Yeah, I'm
yes,
curious
yeah.
to see those early impressions. See more gameplay
Yeah,
videos.
I mean, I saw
looks so good.
Famitsu kind of gave it a perfect score or close to perfect score.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
The old-
Kind of gave it a perfect score.
Kinda. It's
All right.
perfect, but
Cool.
that's what you expect.
Right on. So
But-
Trails of Cold Steel 2, check it out.
Yes, great story. Like I said, people can tweet at me once they get to the end of that, because they're gonna be like, "What the hell?" I was like, "What is going on?"
Or you can just
here?
tweet "What the hell" to @KimberlyWallace whenever you like. It's a great time.
Well, yeah.
Reiner.
Yeah.
Speaking of what the hell,
Here we go. See, I did a good segue into that.
tomorrow. Okay. Bye, Reiner. We'll talk to you later. This is Q Games' new game for PS4.
Yeah,
it's
the Pixel Junk guys.
right. We
Yeah.
talked to Dylan Cuthbert a year ago or so on this podcast a little bit about the game's development and whatnot. It's Pixel Junk, Minecraft, Mother Russia. Is that
It's-
what's going on here?
Well,
Mother
remove the
Russia.
Pixel Junk.
Okay.
Like completely different art style, like fully 3D character models. Looks really great. Like I love the colors. It's like post 1960s apocalyptic dystopian world set in Russia.
So it looks great.
It looks great, and I'm just going to walk you through what happened.
Please.
I thought you didn't know what happened.
Well, we're going to get
We'll
there.
be the judge of
We'll
that.
get there. I'll move Linus here.
Oh boy, here we go.
So, I pick up the controller.
I'm into it.
I turn it on.
My favorite kind
Title
of games.
screen. Dylan Cuthbert. Directed by.
Oh.
I was like, whoa. Director credit right out of the gate. This is going to be good.
Uh-huh.
Get in there. The Penguin from Batman starts talking to me.
Okay.
He's talking in Russian, I think. I don't know what's happening.
Uh-huh.
I end up being this girl. I have a pickaxe.
Like it.
I go out into this vast desert called the Void.
And it looks like
And
the
these-
Matrix thing.
Giant cubes appear. They look like they're made of like sand. Just picture this. Close your eyes.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
picture it.
Mm.
And a staircase appears. Penguin's still talking to me.
What's he saying?
Just stuff about the Void and how I'm a projection clone.
Mm.
Kind of going into, this rough world that Russia created. And I go up with my pickaxe and I start hitting on the cube. And I create a doorway.
Mm-hmm.
And I go inside and it's all dark in there.
Oh my God.
But when it's dark, my character looks like Matrix code, but
Oh.
red, not green. Picture red.
Uh-huh.
I pull out a light bulb that looks like this light that looks like an ice cream cone. It illuminates the cavern. I'm whole again. I look like this character again. I get some gold. I bring it outside. I put it in this zone. Penguin talks to me again, tells me to go in the subway. I go in the subway, and I appear in some town, and then all the tutorial's gone, and they're just like, go do stuff. And so I ended up on a treadmill for like 5 minutes
Literally?
to create electricity. So I'm on this treadmill running,
Oh, that sounds awful.
and I'm making electricity. And I just ended up doing, like, I was ringing a bell for a while. And
Is
then,
it in a good way, like Sandbox Go Have Fun, big boy?
No.
Imagine if you had to run to create electricity. That'd be so awful.
I think it's kind of like this thing, like you are kind of this drone in this society, and they're trying to establish that feeling of you have to do these things to build up this world, which you have no real ownership over. So I was like all on board of like, okay, am I actually going to be building my own world and all this
Yeah,
stuff?
that sounds cool.
But everything that I've seen so far is I'm just bouncing from town to town and doing these menial tasks. And some of it's really weird. Like there's these big Godzilla beasts that start approaching the town.
Of course.
And I get up on these cannons, and there's like 3 of us. They're all players, by the way. We're all in this world together. And we're all shooting at this Godzilla thing for like 5 minutes, and then it just falls over. And then we get some like tickets, currency in the world. And then a train pulled up, and more people arrived. But it also like dumped all these supplies on the ground. And we all had to just go like pick up logs and put them in the log stacks, and then like gold, put them in the gold stacks, and food in the food stacks.
So a bunch of busy work.
Yeah.
Kind of like farming in Harvest Moon, but you don't get to interact with people.
Imagine a beautiful
have that.
fantasy life. Is that what we're talking about here?
And then someone was at a workstation. I was like, I want to do that. So I went up to the workstation. It's like, stand in line.
Oh my gosh, this
Is
is like
this-
So I
too
stood
close.
in
It's too
line.
close to real life. Like all this stuff you don't want to do.
It reminded me of PlayStation
Like run.
Home. Remember PlayStation Home with the
Oh
arcade
no!
units?
Oh no! No!
Yeah.
Where people are just waiting in line to play it? That was that.
better.
It reminded me of that 100%
Oh,
where I'm just standing there
man.
waiting my turn.
So wait, are the people in this world other players?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're
right.
all like working. And then I could go back to the subway to go to other towns. But I never saw a place where I could create my own thing. And I don't know if you can.
I
And
assume you
people out there
can.
watching, like, let us know. I'm going to go play more of this, obviously. But
Yeah.
my first impression was, it was just like, whoa, this is strange.
Is it just some hippy dippy nonsense? Is it for anybody? Is it weird? Is it bad? Is it fun?
I mean, it sounds pretty weird.
It is really weird out of the gate and confusing. Like, very confusing. Like, it's just like, what am I supposed to do at this point?
But there's something kind of fun about just having a blast of confusion in the year
Just like
2016, I guess.
people just like dropping you in and be like, figure it out yourself. Like, see what the world you and other players create. I think that was probably what they're going for.
Yeah.
So if you want to ring a bell for a while or run on a treadmill,
See, that just.
that's my first impression of, what is it called? Tomorrow
Children.
Children. The
I
Tomorrow
almost said
Children.
Tomorrowland. I'm like, wait, that's not right.
I want to try it.
So yeah, sorry we don't have more formulated thoughts, but that is
It just
what
came
happens
out,
at the beginning
though,
of this
yeah.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, support weird stuff. Cool. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
I think it's free though, right? I think it's free to play.
No,
I think so.
I don't believe so.
You can flash on screen if I'm right or wrong.
I will flash right now vocally that you are wrong. I believe it's $20.
Flash if he's wrong then.
Perfect. Hey, yesterday, not only PlayStation had a big old news conference, but Apple did as well. The big old Apple keynote. So we got Tim Cook coming out on stage, and right out of the gate, I saw a flood of people on Twitter saying, "What the hell? What is happening?" And I was like, okay, I need to tune into this Apple keynote to figure out what's happening. So I ran over to Brian Shea's desk to watch it.
Okay, close your eyes.
Okay. And so I walk over to Brian Shea's desk, and he starts to try and tell me about this gym that he just subscribed to and how it's really good because Brock Lesnar used to go there, and he's been working on his muscles for a while, but sometimes his wrist gets sore. Oh, sorry, that was just Brian Shea channeled. But I see on his screen Shigeru Miyamoto.
What?
Mind blown.
Amazing. So Miyamoto walked out on stage at an Apple keynote. He's wearing his best little turtleneck sweater, little Koopa neck sweater. And he gets on there and announces a new Mario game coming to iOS this year.
And everybody's just losing their minds like, it's happening.
We never thought it was going to happen.
It seems out of the blue on a couple of fronts, right? So we knew that they're working on Fire Emblem and they're working on Animal Crossing. I believe free to play. Like Iwata, before he died, was saying that their games were free to play, free to start. And now comes this Mario game for iPhone. You hold it vertically, and it's going to be premium priced, a set price, no microtransactions in there whatsoever. It just feels completely out of the blue in a good way.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Miyamoto's attached, at least in announcing it. He told us that you could play it with one hand and eat an apple at the same time. That's cool.
Or a hamburger.
Or a hamburger. He just kept talking about food.
He was very hungry.
I like that a lot. We'll see. And it has like, what was there, a battle mode?
Where you compete to see who can impress more toads by collecting more coins, stuff like that. But it kind of looks like a vertical version of Rayman Run, if you played that, where it's auto running. Seems like there's still levels, going level to levels. It's very much the art style from New Super Mario Brothers. It looks like it's just kind of reworked levels from that so far. So if you like that art style and that music, I think you're really going to be in luck. It looks interesting. Like, there are certain pads that you could see where if you ran across them, you would stop on them. If you need to wait for like timing to happen, like doors are raised or lower, or like little lava rotating pillars, stuff like that. And so that's a new mechanic that I haven't really seen in an auto run game.
So it's like auto run with stop.
With
and
stop pads if you want to hit them. Yeah, it's a nice little Nintendo detail. I'm really curious to see, how the geniuses at Nintendo try and wrap their mind around an auto run level.
Did they announce like release or
It's coming out this year.
price?
No, not price specifically.
That's what I'm curious
It's like
about.
December, right? I think.
Yeah.
Like a flash if I'm right or wrong.
Perfect. It's also coming out on Android, but it's coming out on iOS first. So you can play it on your new iPhone 7. That'll be exciting. Nothing. They said the new iPhone 7 is going to look better.
And then also Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing, what was it, March 2017?
Right. They're going to provide more details on that.
So those will be later.
Fire
But man,
Emblem.
all their big franchises, Pokemon, well, outside of Zelda and Metroid,
Yeah,
are kind of there, right?
it's true. And Pokemon Go is going to be available on the Apple Watch. That was actually the most I've ever wanted an Apple Watch, is seeing them like catch a Snorlax on a watch. Like, it seems pretty cool.
I got one.
I think I'm just a little bit bummed out with the Mario Run, the Super Mario Run game, just because like Nintendo does such a good job of like customizing games to specific platforms, and I was hoping that it would look a little bit newer. It just seems like, it's kind of like an auto run version of New Super Mario Brothers. I'm sure it's going to be a little more complicated than that, but I was hoping for a new art style or something that was really iPhone centric instead of just you jump to.
I think I'd rather have an auto runner than kind of those invisible analog sticks and buttons.
Right.
Like, I always struggle with those in iPhone games. But I agree with you on like, it looks like the Mario game I've already played before, and this was their chance to kind of reinvent the look for a new device, maybe?
I think so. Yeah.
Whatever.
It should be all right.
It'll be cool, I think.
Nintendo stock prices went soaring. I think they're going to make a lot of money with this beast.
Mm-hmm.
And Pokemon Go on the Apple Watch. I guess Pokemon Go's up to 500 million downloads.
That's it.
Jesus Christ.
Took over.
It's the future. Exciting times. What an exciting week for games.
500 million? No.
It wasn't? I think it might
They
have been,
said there's
man.
500 million games in the marketplace.
No.
Or 500
Wade Wojcik in the booth is shaking his head.
500,000 games in the marketplace.
Wade, do the research. What is it?
Oh, he for sure said they had over 500 million downloads.
There we go.
No.
That's what they said. Who can say? That's it, everybody, for big game news. Hey, in the future, we should play some older game and we should talk through it. in a segment that we call Game Club on this podcast.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay.
Okay.
Where are you going with this? I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
Kim,
I can't
Kim, you
guess.
get a guess too.
I can't because I think I know it.
I think I announced it to Reiner this morning, so I'm curious what he guesses.
Halo ODST.
That would be such a weird choice.
Oh, well, what's better, Ben Hansen?
I think
Kingdom Hearts.
Oh,
also
that'd
I'd be
good.
up for that.
Yeah,
And it was
that'd be
recently remastered.
Yeah.
You know what else is being remastered?
Bye.
BioShock. Wow. Yeah. So that is going to be the next Game Club game. The remaster for BioShock, which comes with 1, 2, and Infinite. It's releasing on September 13th. We're only doing BioShock
That's what I was
1.
going to ask. Are you doing all 3 games? Or
Maybe
just one?
eventually we'll get around to it, but we're going to start out with BioShock 1.
I think that's a good choice.
Think so? Thank you. We're going to do it in 2 episodes. The first episode, we're going to talk about the first half of the game, will be airing September 22nd. So we strongly encourage you to play along with us. If you already own this game on Steam, it'll get a free update. Otherwise, you can buy it and play it on modern consoles, old consoles. You can play it on iOS. You
I'm
can
just
play it
going
on
to say it.
Apple
That
Watch.
is my BioShock is my favorite game of last generation.
Of last generation.
Yeah, when we did our top 5 list, that was my number 1.
Oh, right on. I have never finished it. It has been a big
you
mark of shame
probably
for a long time.
stopped at like the good part. Too,
I'm
when
sure
you
I
were
did.
Finding out all the reveals and
Well,
putting it
speaking
together.
of stopping at the good part, the first half of the game, so the first episode airing on September 22nd, we're going to stop right after Fort Frolic. Fort Frolic is something in the game that I'm not familiar with, but we're going to talk all about it. So we strongly encourage you to play alongside of us and then send emails to podcast@gameformer.com
Yeah,
with your thoughts
this'll be a
on
fun one.
how well BioShock is held up. I would prefer if you didn't spoil things from the ending in this first episode. We'll eventually get to it and whatnot, but it should be a good time.
But you will have the chance to play it on PS4, Xbox One.
Right.
Or, obviously, it's out on PC, but in addition to the old platforms. But there
Yeah.
will be new ones available before we record these.
If you want to have a very, very good looking one. So that's releasing
with HDR. No HDR.
no HDR. It's 4K to look at
Not
these
really.
images. Who knows? I'm excited. It should be a fun one. So we're going to do it in 2 episodes. So please join us for the next journey on Game Club. But for now, guys, do you
Is
want
it my favorite time?
It's your favorite time. Community emails. Stay tuned for that. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We got some red hot emails from the community here. People write in to podcast@gameinformer.com. We read them off on the show. They can be questions, comments, feedback, words of wisdom, anything and everything. We read it all off, and then we choose our absolute favorite of the bunch. And if they're within the United States, you know, the good country, then we send them out something real nice, which is an American flag, I believe. No, we'll send you out a real nice Game Informer care package. So write into podcast@gameinformer.com with thoughts, comments, questions. All right, you guys ready?
All right, let's do this.
Bruce Dixon writes in.
Bruce, what's up?
Says, hey, Puppeteer is one of the most creative titles ever, especially if you have a theater background. So many inside baseball theater tropes are the frosting here. I think over the head of non-drama majors, Puppeteer cemented Sony's resume as far and away the most out-of-the-box, innovative, and experimental of major publishers over Nintendo even. Not all experiments were profitable. I jokingly referenced Puppeteer as a forgettable game last week.
Oh,
And apparently
okay. I
Bruce-
was like, why is this an angry tone? What am
All
I
right.
missing?
Hey, Ben, stop
Yeah.
pissing people off.
Puppeteer Defenders. It looked cool. I played a little bit of it. It seemed great. Also, I forget if it was last week or the week before, we were confused about something that Reiner, you might know.
Wait, we were confused by something?
Right.
That doesn't happen
Is it
here.
a Star Wars question?
No,
No,
but
I'm not
close.
confused by that. No.
So, hey crew, Paul again. Paul writes in and says,
Hi, Paul again.
just wanted to give a heads up on the Batman trophies in case no one else has done so yet. Do you know the story of the giant penny and the T-Rex in Batman's cave, Reiner?
I did for a while, yeah. He got them from some people's lairs, some of his villains' lairs.
Well, here we go. Paul can help us out. The T-Rex is from Batman number 35. Batman and Robin were invited to a dinosaur theme park. The dinosaurs were animatronic and were asked to survive the park without their gadgets. A villain named Stephen Chase stole the remote and tried to really kill Batman. And then Bats kept the T-Rex.
I never read that issue, by the way. I have
Sounds
Batman
good.
number 13, which I think is the first issue with the Batmobile.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it look like? Just like a cardboard box back then?
Yeah, it was pretty much that.
Okay.
Yeah, he made it.
The giant penny comes from the world's finest number 30 with Superman. A man named Joe Coyne, of course, robs a store of all its pennies but gets arrested. He changes his name to the Penny Plunderer, commits only penny crimes as a way to get back at all the coppers who put him away. He then tried to steal the giant penny, for which Batman and Robin stop him. The story goes on, but the real funny thing about this item is the fact that it's made its way into Batman the Animated Series. Two-Face was going to use the giant penny to kill Batman. He was to use a level system to flip the penny, so if it landed on heads, Batman, who was strapped onto the side of the penny, would die. If it lands on tails, bats would go free.
That's brilliant.
That's pretty good. Thanks for the great episode. Thank you for writing
Okay,
in.
well, there
Glad
you
we got
go.
that story.
Can I
Some
just
history that
want
should
someone
have
to
been
come steal
removed.
all my pennies? I got a lot of them.
Yeah, well, you should
Done.
try strapping
Bring 'em
tiny
in.
Batmans to them and flipping them around. I just started playing the Telltale game. I don't think they're in that Bat Cave. I don't think I saw them in there.
And they don't have the penny or dinosaur in the new movie either.
Oh, that's true. Marty C. from Springfield, Illinois writes in. He says, "Hello, Ben Hansen and podcast crew. Who creates the GI cover art every month?" I've got that cart before the horse. Is it someone different each month? A single artist? A group of artists? Does the artwork come from the game studios themselves? I've always wondered where the fantastic GI covers come from, but never took the time to look into it. The Horizon Zero Dawn cover is gorgeous.
Is pretty gorgeous. I'm gonna take all the credit for it. No,
Yeah, it's all over the place. Reiner, where does it come from?
Well, let me give you a couple of examples.
Please.
So way back when we did a Legacy of Kain cover.
We all remember, sure.
Soul Reaver.
favorite cover.
And they were asking for ideas for the cover. So Andy and I drew a stick figure, our best ability of Kain, just of Azrael on the cover, just kind of like this.
Uh-huh.
And then their artist rendered Azrael like this. And we're like, in the future, if you game creators, if you want to do some cool stuff with it, kind of pitch us some ideas, that'd be great rather than using our stick figure ideas. So usually the cover art is kind of a collaborative effort between us and the studio. I mean, heavily weighted in the studio, the game developers camp of bringing their game to life in their vision.
Mm-hmm.
We often don't know a lot about these games at that point. So we don't know the characters, all that. We want them to present what they think is the best example of that or the best kind of focal point for that.
That's not the box art, preferably.
But then things that we often shoot back is like, make sure you frame it in a way where there's something interesting on the front and back. A lot of times the initial sketches we'll see the back is kind of lacking. There's not a lot to draw your eye there. Sometimes I think there's some issues. Infamous 2 just had like a weird helicopter on the back or something. Where we learned as we went along, but a lot of developers do a great job with their art teams are amazing.
And I always it seems like the mantra from you guys is always, hey, make it bold, make it different.
Yeah.
Like we're cool with weird. And when they do, I think it pays off. Like Far Cry 4, I love the cover art. I love the Horizon cover art. If you
Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 15's art,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Couch.
Yeah, but if you're really digging that Horizon cover, tweet at Guerrilla Games because they'll pass it on. I think one of their concept
I
artists.
forget the guy's name. Yeah, it was somebody from the art team, which I mean, it tells just for the overall look and vibrancy of that whole game. But the entire pitch for the game also came from the art team, came from the lead artist on it now. So very art-driven project.
And then other times where we do something called like our concept covers, where it's like games of the year, our E3 Hot 50. We either work with our art team upstairs, which is just right above us actually, to come up with the concepts, or we really like this artist. I believe his name's Sam Pratt, and he did the top 30. What was it? Top 30 characters of all time, or whatever, most influential characters. Those 3 covers that would link together.
The VR cover he did.
He did the VR
cover is awesome. I really like that.
And that's something where we work with him and talk about ideas. But again, like when we went to him with the VR cover, he had this idea, like, I want to do something like this, and we're like, go nuts. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we had the artist Alex Grenling do the E3 cover not that long ago. So yeah, sometimes, most of the time from the developers, sometimes it's done kind of out of house by the publishers. That's a little more corporate. I like it when actually the developers and the art team gets to like just go hog wild and make something. It's always great to see.
Game and Farcer covers.
Oh yeah.
I also got to give a shout out to Xander Cannon, artist who's been doing it for over a decade, I think. But we'll have him come in the office and we'll be like, we have this dumb joke. And he's like, well, let me make that joke dumber or better. And we kind of throw ideas back and forth, and he puts in so many little jokes of his own in the cover. Those are always fun to look at, kind of like Where's Waldo? Just little things here and there throughout the covers. And those always launch in our April edition.
Yeah, for
every
sure.
year.
Jonathan DeLuca writes in and says, hey, Ben and crew, I consider myself a pretty hardcore gamer. I've adopted some gaming lingo over the years, but I don't play MMO games, so I have no idea what the hell sock pooping or poop socking or whatever you guys were saying in the last episode is. We're saying poop socking, which I just got from South Park with Warcraft. It's like playing so long you don't want to leave your chair, so you're pooping a sock. What's the weirdest gaming language you've heard and or adopted? And please don't send anyone Dan Tag's poop sock as a prize. Seriously, please don't. You got it, Jonathan. One poop sock coming for you.
What conversation did I miss last week?
Oh, it was a lot of talking about Dan trying to get through Legion because he burned through that like a burning crusade, just like a madman. And he seems really, really hot on it. Seems he's warming up quite a bit, and Miller's really into it. But gaming lingo, one that I didn't really know, or maybe just heard in passing, but Bungie has a lot of specific gaming lingo. They use strings talking about like narrative threads and naming things, but one that they use a lot is grok. You guys know grok? Like grokking something, like when a player like wraps their mind around it, like, oh, it takes a while to grok, but once you get it, that type of thing really stands out to me. I remember on the Darksiders 2 trip, we're talking about dungeon designs. I remember talking to the producer and being like, how do you guys design your dungeons? What's your puzzle philosophy? And he goes, well, have you played Zelda? It's like, oh yeah, okay. He's like, it's just that. It's like, okay, got it. But I remember he said that it's important in dungeons to sprinkle in big puzzles, but then also a bunch of not quite puzzles, which they called nuzzles. And now every time I'm playing a game, when you have those puzzles where it's just like Lego game stuff, where it's like, go over here, press this button.
Nuzzle.
It's a nuzzle.
It's a nuzzle. It's a good word.
Dr. Seuss created it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I know any of that.
The cool hip stuff.
I had a weird moment when I was at Naughty Dog way back in the day. I'm just going to keep talking about going to Naughty Dog.
Sure.
But Crash Bandicoot 2 or 3, and I'm playing it, and Mark Cerny and Jason Rubin are at my sides. And Cerny at the time was designing the levels. Like he was figuring out the jumps and all that stuff, where things were hidden and all that. Yeah.
I had no idea.
And so as I'm playing it, he's like, 1 meter jump. 1 meter jump. 2 meter jump. 2 meter jump. And I was just like, okay, I'm like way in the head of a designer, like going through this, like, but that was kind of cool. That's how they kind of put their world together, is in these just very basic 1 meter, 2 meter jumps.
Yeah.
But outside of like the development terminology for things that players will actually know, the whole MMO movement and all those terms that came from that, like they're like, nah, everything that's in gaming, screw it. Like we're coming up with our own like terminology for everything. So when I went into World of Warcraft like 3 months after it launched or something like that, or it was EverQuest, and Andy's like writing me stuff in the game, I was just like, what the hell is happening? What does all this mean?
Right.
That was like, I was like, wow, they have their own like little glossary for how everything works. And I thought that was super cool. And that's kind of gone through every MMO.
And it's interesting when the MMO lingo like shifts over into the console world. Like I feel like ads wasn't really a thing that people said outside of the MMO world until Destiny for me. I'm sure there's other examples, Dynasty Warriors, something like that.
League of Legends, stuff like that.
Yeah, possibly. My favorite part of that PlayStation conference, by the way, I wrote it down because it made me laugh, was wonderful Mark Cerny was out on stage and he's showing footage from Days Gone, the Sony Ben zombie game. And he just calmly says, here, the freaker horde has come out to feed. It's just the best horror movie. I want him to narrate it.
Hannibal Lecter voice right there.
Yeah, Mark Cerny. Anyways, Mark Chase writes in and says, hey, GI crew, got a question for you. There's so many seemingly great games coming out this fall, but if you had to decide on only one to get and play for at least the next several months, which game would it be? This is actually a very real situation for many gamers out there and can be extremely stressful.
Okay, so I need one game that I haven't played yet that I got to put my money into that's got to last for months.
Right.
So immediately you look at RPGs or like competitive games. So
I think Pokemon Go you already have. Does that count?
well, winter is coming. You don't want to play that.
It's hard. There's
Final Fantasy 15.
Final Fantasy 15 South Park.
South Park's going to be shorter though. And that game probably doesn't have a lot of replayability, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
Like,
I don't know.
Because the last game was what, 15 hours, 20?
Yeah, not quite that, yeah.
Dead Rising 4.
Yeah,
I'm really
that's
interested
good.
in.
Is that this year?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's December 5th, something like that.
Dishonored 2, I'm really interested in.
Yeah, he says 1. Are you just going through these options?
I'm saying I'm listing off ones
All
that
the
I'm
shooters.
really interested in.
Destiny, Battlefield 1, Call of Duty. I think that's all the big
But
shooters
if I
coming,
had
right?
to pick
Titanfall.
one,
Titanfall.
and it's not going to shock anybody, probably Final Fantasy 15, just because
Yeah.
I've waited so damn long for that game that's like, all right, let's do this now.
Reiner, do you know what you'd go with? Don't disappoint Mark.
Cerny?
That's right. I'll make the freaker hard. Have to feed on your
Damn it,
bones.
Hanson.
I might echo Kim on I want a good Final Fantasy again. I wrote an editorial how I was really disappointed in where the series was going with 13 and all those sequels that I didn't play.
I don't think 16's coming out this year.
No.
Hey-o.
Or will it?
You're so bad.
That or to give a different answer, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off and say I'm really excited about Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I hope that gets me back. I loved Modern Warfare 1 and 2, Black Ops 1. I want a good Call of Duty experience that I can sink my hours into and really enjoy that multiplayer. I'm going with that one.
Yeah. I was leaning towards Battlefield 1, and then I decided
You play Battlefield?
I love 1942 and Bad Company 2.
Okay.
And then I've dabbled in the other ones, but I'm excited for Battlefield 1. I hope I get into it.
It
But
just doesn't seem like a Ben Hansen thing
yeah,
at all.
I'm full of surprises. But it turns out I'm going to go with Paper Mario Color Splash. Anyway,
I don't know. That's a Ben Hansen pick.
There we
He
go.
told me, you only pick one, and then he's saying more than one.
I'm
and
just
then-
thinking my way through. Okay.
Mhm.
The Brockness says this email is about 2 years late, but I thought I would send it anyway.
Okay.
Puppeteer is underrated. No. Browsing the PlayStation Store, I saw the new Need for Speed, and its reviews were lackluster. Then I saw Need for Speed Rivals and the amazing review Reiner had given it.
Bang,
I
bang.
loved it instantly and audibly shouted, "Reiner is a genius." I've been waiting for a game like this for so long, and it almost passed me by. My question for the podcast crew is, what are your favorite arcade racing games?
Wow. Well, arcade racing games in terms of like Need for Speed or like going back to the actual arcades? Because
Yeah,
there's
I
like
guess
Burnout.
I think he counts anything but Forza. I think that's what counts as an arcade
Well,
racer.
Burnout Crash Mode is the coolest thing ever, and
3
just
specifically,
knocking
or-
cars. Yeah, knocking cars off the tracks. Even I love the interconnected multiplayer of Paradise. I think
Yeah.
it was, even though it didn't have the warps that you wanted.
Yeah.
That was great. But then I'll go to arcades and say, I'm super old, so Pole Position. I loved Cruisin'. I loved Outrun.
Yeah, Daytona.
Now, didn't
You don't like Daytona?
It's
Oh, still so much
stock
fun.
car racing. Turn left. Yeah, I'm gonna go with those
Those are
three,
the big
and
ones.
then Burnout.
This game became infamous during the Super Replay Showdown because Kyle chose a van, but Rumble Racing on PS2 I still think is super cool. Like the ability to do tricks, and every car can spin like an SSX character, and it's arcadey and fun as hell.
Why would you choose a van?
Great question. Ask Kyle Hilliard.
Do you ever play Beetle Racing? on
Yeah,
N64? The game was
yeah.
cool.
People like it.
Arcade racer.
Best thing Beatles ever made.
Kim, anything?
Anything, Kim?
I don't play many racing games.
Chocobo Racing.
There you go.
Maybe, but
Final Fantasy
there's
VII.
one I see in my head, and it's like, this is not.
It's a car.
It's arcadey, red car, yellow street.
Yellow Street Red Car. Is this the Wizard of Oz racer?
No,
Oh,
I mean like
Cruising?
I think it's cruising.
Okay.
Yeah.
USA or World?
I was gonna say Cruising USA. I think is what it was.
Bugs on the windshield.
Yeah,
That's
like,
fun.
yeah.
San Francisco Rush.
Oh.
The park where you can do tricks.
I didn't know this.
Awesome.
Wait, there's just a park with like a ramp on it or something?
Yeah, and you just spin through the air forever, and it's the greatest thing.
That seems okay.
It's great.
Driver San Francisco. Anyways, Ian from Richmond, Virginia, Red Tenant says, I was bummed to find out that the duo from Mythbusters, Jamie and Adam, were not actually friends. They looked like they were on camera, but
Wow.
off camera, they didn't have much
I
in
didn't know they
common.
weren't
And they didn't
friends.
hang out. They hate each other. That's the biggest myth of all. Is this the same deal with Game Informer? Do you have friends in the office or at the podcast table? If so, is it out of obligation because it'd be awkward as hell to be rude all the time? Joe Juba is what they wrote. I did not add that. They
Love
added
it,
that.
love it.
Yeah, Joe Juba and I hang out quite a bit. It's a lot of trying to lure people out of their homes to come to your house. Jeffem will not leave his house. He will just claw at the doorway like a cat if you try and invite him anywhere.
Yeah,
You mean pull him out of his house?
Yeah, that's it.
I think it's really hard for us not to be friends with one another just because we're together so much.
I had to spend a week in Amsterdam with him, for
me,
Christ's sake.
me and Ben had to hang out. Our hotel wasn't ready when we got to Amsterdam, so we actually went to museums together.
And then it turns
That's
out
really fun.
Kim doesn't like to go to sleep. So we're up until the sun came up on the last night of Amsterdam, wandering around the red light district, which was just great.
Well, I mean, you got to live it up.
I'd say everybody's friendly with each other.
Yeah.
There are friend groups. There are people with families that obviously don't spend a lot of time at bars, people that like go to bars that are younger, different walks of life.
We we do stuff together. Like every so often we'll all go out for like dinner or something.
Well, there's kind of like a downtown Minneapolis crew that seems more bar prone. That's a cultural momentum shift here.
We had this last weekend. I went out into the wilderness hunting Pokemon with Kyle and his family, and then Brian Shea, who my daughter was like, "Who's that guy?
Why is
Who's
he
that guy
talking?
that's here with these families?"
Did she fall in love?
No, she was just like,
Was
kinda
she
worried,
creeped
like,
out by him?
Why is that guy with us?
Daddy, make him stop talking about the gym membership.
Yeah, so we do stuff.
Make him stop taking selfies.
Christian from Everett, Washington says, I've got a two-part question here. First, what's your favorite TV game tie-in? Mine would have to be Simpsons Hit and Run, which we played on replay.
Ooh, I like that game.
Being able to drive the Homer is pretty fun. You guys have?
I played a lot of that Simpsons Hit and Run game.
That was fun.
That was really fun. Gosh.
We already mentioned it, but for me, it took a second to get to it. But
I
you
have
can't
it.
beat Stick of Truth. I mean, it's
Yeah,
so
that
good.
is the best TV game made. But I'm going to give out two examples.
Uh-huh.
At the height of Lost's popularity,
Oh, boy.
Wow.
a real crap game came out called Lost Via Domos.
Yeah, that's right.
But I learned so much about that world from that game, and it kind of built on that lore and that big mystery. And at the time, that was super cool.
Yeah?
Also, I really liked the 24 game that came out. It was clunky, but I thought the story was cool.
Oh, PS2. I
Yeah.
think we did as a replay as well
Yeah.
at some point.
I thought that was cool.
Okay.
I really liked the Buffy games. Well, one of them, I think it was Chaos Bleeds. And I really liked the Nickelodeon Guts Super Nintendo game that they had.
Oh, interesting twist.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wish we had it. I checked in the vault and we don't. And
Oh,
I would love
man.
to play it on like a replay with having us go against each other. And because you get to play the basketball mini game, the archery, you get to finally go up the aggro crag. Finally, after all this time. I just thought it was a blast when I was a kid. I liked a lot of those Nickelodeon tie-in games. They had a few Doug ones that I remember I had on my Game Boy.
Totally Angelica.
Oh yeah. And I love the Mary Kate and Ashley Super Sweet 16 game, which is like Mario Party, but instead of getting stars, you pick up boys, and whoever has the most boys in their cars as you go around the game board at the end of the game is the winner.
It doesn't matter which one you're attached to or attracted to. You just shove boys in your trunk and keep driving.
It was
claims-
I had a
claiming
lot
characters.
of fun when I was a kid playing that game.
That's where it started.
It's true.
That's from their TV show.
Apparently, they're making a new biker. What is
Mice
it?
from Mars.
Yes, thank you, game. Which I then looked it up. I had no idea they made a PS2 and a DS game based on
Yeah.
biker mice from Mars, which seems like it was on TV when I was a kid, and I barely liked it. But it's alive and well.
Home Improvement on Super Nintendo.
Oh, where you're
wow.
shooting the nail gun at the
Oh,
raptors?
the Home Alone game I played. That's the movie tie-in, but I played
Yeah.
the crap out of that on Super Nintendo.
You know who made the NES Home Alone game? Bethesda.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I would love to see it at some point. I've never seen it. Anyways, I mentioned if you were paying attention, this is a two-part question.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Christian from Everett, Washington also asks, what do you think happened to Brendan Fraser? Not a huge fan, but one of my friends asked me this question. I didn't have the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because
Did the Mummy kill his career?
no.
I think the Mummy made his career.
Yeah, that made his career. But then he was in that Journey to the Center of the Universe or the Earth.
That's the
That one was actually pretty good.
But then they made a direct sequel, but they just wrote him out.
Sorry, he's always
Right? It was like the same kids.
Yeah.
He'll always be Encino Man to me.
What a classic. He really ate that frog in Son-in-Law, didn't he? I think it was an Encino Man callback in that.
God, should I look up what was the last movie he was in?
I looked it up.
Oh, you did. You're ahead of
The
us.
last movie that was released that he was in is he was a voice in The Nut Job, that Squirrel Will Arnett
yeah.
joint. And now
Nut
he's
Job.
there's movies coming out called The Field and Behind the Curtain of Night that he's in.
So he's
So,
in some stuff coming.
yeah, look forward to Brendan's career. It's gonna be great.
But that was weird, though. I always thought he was pretty good in those kind of action comedy movies.
Sure, School Ties. A
Oh
lot
my
of great
God,
roles
School
out
Ties
there.
was a good one.
Heck yeah. Dan from Minnesota writes in, says the Wii U has been out for 3 years now and has never seen a price drop,
Yeah,
even
what
with
the
its
heck,
lackluster
Nintendo?
sales. Didn't it have a $50 price drop I feel like right out of the gate. Anyways, with no big holiday games coming out for the platform and nothing really until Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Color Splash. Do you think this is the year they finally commit to a price drop?
I think it's weird that it hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of dead in the water. I mean, Nintendo fans, you can take issue with that if you want. I don't care because it is kind of dead in the
They're
water.
releasing like two more games for it.
It's the
I mean,
strangest thing that they haven't really done a good solid price drop, you know. You might be right about the $50 one. I'm not, I don't know. I remember something when I got my Zelda bundle with Wind Waker HD that there was a good deal in there, and that's when I got mine. But yeah, I think like everybody's been waiting for one.
Well, I mean, we know the future's coming next March. Like the successor is next March, and it seems like this thing should be on the way out.
Yeah, we were expecting one at E3. I remember all of us were like, well, if they're gonna, you know, if they're really going down that path of the NX, that's where they're going, like, wouldn't you announce a price drop? Like, it would make sense at your press conference. Maybe with the holidays coming up, they'll do something.
Maybe. I mean, they could just.
But I don't know why they don't want to.
So,
like, don't you want to get rid of all that extra inventory?
So I tweeted kind of the same thing. Like, what up, Nintendo? Is this going to go on clearance? Why isn't there a price drop?
Cool, Andrew
and
Reiner
they said
here.
only for you, Reiner.
I had some people that worked in like Toys R Us's and GameStops and different stores say, all of them say, we haven't gotten stock in like 4 months. So basically what they have is kind of it.
Unless they're like trying to dry up shelves to relaunch it at a cheaper price with some new color or something like that.
Maybe,
you know?
but it seems like maybe they don't need to drop the price or something.
I thought maybe
these machines are kind of
in.
on the way out, but at the same time, it's like still, get that thing out of there.
Yeah.
Make room for NX.
Yeah.
And Neo
hi guys.
and all that stuff.
Hi guys. My name is Michael Forch, and I'm a German tech and games journalist.
Oh, cool.
I've already met some of you guys over the years, mostly at E3 and Gamescom. One of you still owes me a beer. Doesn't mention who it is. I don't know if I met this guy at Gamescom or not.
Not me.
Anyways, this brings me to my question. How do you experience and what do you think about the differences, contrasts of games journalism in different countries around the world? For example, in Germany, reviews are often very mechanical and checklist-like. Games are judged on, quote, how good the systems and gameplay work, how many levels, weapons there are, and how long the playtime is. Numbers seem very important for our readers. If a game does something that was never seen before, we Germans are often not impressed if it doesn't work well. There are some games journalists that want to change that, but German video game reviews are in the most cases still pure product reviews. The British guys are totally different. They see games not as a product, but more of a work of art, creativity, and technology. What do you think about foreign game journalists and how they review games?
I guess I never really thought that there was that big of a difference until you're saying that. I guess that does make. I just figured it just depends on the outlet. I never thought it was like a cultural thing.
Well, they always. I mean, we always joke about like when somebody from Germany is at a big press outlet, they'll often ask like, "How long is your game?"
Yeah,
and
how many weapons?
Now it all makes now that all makes sense to me. That is really interesting. I guess I haven't thought much about it.
Yeah.
I always just like appreciate different approaches and opinions because I don't think there's like a right way to like one way that a review has to be done.
I wonder if we could pick up any cultural differences in Game Informer Australia, because there's a David down there in Game Informer Australia. I wonder if there's anything that like he emphasizes more in reviews that is different from us.
Yeah, they'll publish our reviews there. So when I wrote my Zelda Spirit Tracks review, I said at times it's as boring as riding the train from like New York to California. And they changed it to like riding from the Billabong to somewhere. And I was like, what the hell is happening? All right. You guys go nuts. Apparently that's the same distance.
But I guess that doesn't make sense. You write for what like people want to know and what they value. So I think they're doing what they want for their audience, which works for them.
Correct. Danny from Philadelphia says, I watch your podcast and Game Informer's replays and test chambers pretty religiously. It is a religion. I'm glad you accept that. But one thing that always comes to mind is how often you guys bring up games like Halo and plenty of others, but I never hear any references to the blank series. What do you guys think he's going to say? What series do we rarely talk about that's huge?
That's like as big as Halo, kind of?
Well, debatably.
Oh, debatably.
Call of Duty.
Nope.
No.
Gears of War.
Gears of War.
I should have known that.
Being one of my favorite series, I would love to hear all the editors' thoughts, memories, and opinions on the series. I love your show, and I want a Dantac jacket, he says.
Wow.
Sorry, only Dantac poop socks around here. I'm very sorry.
He's selling those $75 a pop.
they're such different games. So
Yeah.
if you're doing like a run and gun shooter game, you're more likely to reference Halo, Call of Duty, stuff like that. Whereas Gears of War is pop and shoot, very much about taking cover.
Well, on the Resident Evil 4 Super Replay, in an episode coming up that I'm in, I think I made a reference to Gears of War. That might be the most I've ever made. Are you guys Gears of War fans?
Yeah, I like that series
Kim?
a lot.
I played a lot of the second one.
Okay.
But it's not. I don't play too many shooters, so.
Yeah. Are you excited for 4? I've never really talked to you about Gears of War.
I cannot wait. I really can't wait to play that. So 1 and 2 I thought were great. Wonderful co-op experiences, by the way.
Yeah.
Playing with friends. 3, I enjoyed the game a lot. I didn't like how they wrapped up that story and the ending and all that stuff. And then the next one that came out, Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I had a rough time with that kind of arcade focus.
Yeah.
I really felt they were going the wrong direction with the series. So them going back to kind of the roots of 1, the horror kind of aspect, playing that up, new enemies, new threats.
New horde mode. People are really
I
jazzed on
will
the new horde
say,
mode.
out of all this footage I've seen of the game, it's probably the most excited I've been for a Gears game. in
Your
a long
wonderful
time.
Laura Bailey's in it.
I know, that's
Dende
why.
herself from Dragon Ball Z
Laura
lore.
Bailey is freaking awesome.
And I'm curious with Rod Ferguson kind of at the helm by himself without Cliffy, how it's going to change in terms of vibe and and flow and all that stuff. I always find that fascinating. Just like one little switch in the studio, what does that do to the game?
Yeah, I loved it. I think it was on a Giant Bomb podcast. Cliffy B was on it, and they asked him what he thought about playing Gears of War 4. And he's like, I had some notes. I would have made some changes. I would love to just hear him talk about like just the nittiest, grittiest things about the controls that drive him nuts. I might play 4. Coming out on PC. That'll be kind of fun.
And when 1 came out, I was like, every game's going to have active reload because it's brilliant.
Yeah,
But it didn't end up being the case. There's just a few. It's like one of the coolest gameplay mechanics tied to like just you stress so much when you don't do it right, and you're like that extra second could doom you. But when you're in the zone and you're clicking it like you wouldn't believe, it's such a cool thing.
In our 100 questions for Rod Ferguson on the Gears of War cover story trip, which you can find on the hub, we asked why don't more games rip off active reload, and Rod Ferguson said swing meters are hard. And that was his only conclusion for why it's not ripped off.
And
more
also the
often.
multiplayer
That's
modes
great.
are brilliant. Horde mode, competitive. That series is great in that capacity too.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
yes, super excited.
Well, there we go. There's your Gears of War talk. What do you guys like? Question of the week.
Oh, wow. I like the TV tie-in one.
I like TV tie-in.
Mhm.
I like arcade racing. I'm leaning towards the cover art.
Oh, I think...
That's
The
kind of a
feels-
softball question. I like the TV one because you don't hear that often.
Not
It's
movies,
a simple
just
thing.
specific
Yeah,
I
TV.
but
feel
it's
like
very
we
specific to
all
TV.
thought up interesting answers to that one, too.
Plus, he has the Brendan Fraser really icing
Yeah,
on the cake
yeah,
there. Yeah,
super great.
All right, there we go. Christian from Everett, Washington will ship you out the nicest thing you can possibly imagine that may or may not involve Dantax poop.
It'll be an HDR.
Oh boy, will it.
Too
All
much
right.
poop talk.
So coming up next, we have a crew to talk about some conventions and some fun games they've been playing there. It's a lot of games talk. And then I want to remind people that next week we're going to have a special edition episode in the vein of the Metal Gear Solid one that we had in the past.
Oh,
very exciting.
This one's a little bit
ooh.
simpler, but it is one of the more fun interviews I've ever done.
Nice.
Are you teasing who it is, or
No, I don't think so.
you're
It's
just gonna surprise people?
It's a weird thing, and it's a deep dive into a weird thing that happened in the year 2000. That's what it is. But anyways, stay tuned to learn more about PAX West and Call of Duty XP.
And I'll just say the Super Replay kind of ties into that and leave it at that.
And welcome back to the Informer Show. For the big interview this week, we're joined by the best of the best in the industry. We have Dan Tack.
Well, you're not wrong about me.
Heyo. We got Serial Vasquez.
Hi.
Welcome. And JV Gwaltney,
Hey, everybody.
otherwise known as the Name Freak Show corner over here. What?
I feel like
love you guys.
I feel like Daniel Tack is a pretty tame name.
I love it. Yeah, that's why I'm just singling you
It's a
two out.
strong name.
Okay.
It's
All
a
right.
strong name. It's a brand.
You've all been on the road. You've been traveling. It's basically planes, trains, and automobiles with you guys. It's been a good old-fashioned time. You've been journeying across the landscape, going to a bunch of different conventions. Would you call the Call of Duty event what would you call that?
It was technically the Call of Duty experience.
It was an overall experience. It's like Jimi Hendrix. But first, we're going to talk about PAX, because JV and Dan went to PAX this year out there in beautiful Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? Set the scene.
I mean, this is like, I don't know, the sixth regular PAX for me. It's awesome. It's a great show. As you want to get a pulse in the community, there is no better show.
Yeah.
It's also like the best show to go to find up and coming indies. That's where we found Darkest Dungeon, many other really, really cool games that might get passed over. And there were certainly some like that this year too.
That you passed over immediately?
No. I mean, that's like where you get your first look at stuff that you may not find easily among the hubbub of other shows, which are all focused on AAAs like E3 or something like that. And it's also great to see what the community is getting into, which I think is sometimes something that press can pass over, is to really get their pulse on what people care about rather than just what's shoved in your face as this is a really cool game. Oh, okay. But, what do people actually care about?
You always run into that problem, I think, with press. It's like, what is this giant line? What is this nonsense that everyone's into? Oh, well, let's move on. Microsoft is publishing this game. Let's go check this out. It's like, wait, probably follow the people, everybody.
Exactly. It's really great for that. It's great meeting people who like the show and Replay. We've ran into a ton of those.
Really? What did they say? What was the best feedback?
Most of them are just long-term GI fan, love Replay. I mean,
perfect. Love it.
It's good. It's really great to meet those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only ran into one, and it was at the Dishonored 2 boat party. And I was searching for... Yeah, they had a party at the docks.
It was a typical Bethesda thing, so they had an unveiling during it. So, you get to... And they had food and beverages.
On boats.
And there were boats.
With spiders, filled with spiders.
Bunch of drunken sailors behind
there was a boat that was actually terrifying. One of the boats... it looks totally cool, right? It's like, oh, this is a really cool historical boat. And as long as you didn't look at the ceiling, because they had all the lights up at the ceiling, and if you actually looked up, there were hundreds of rather large spiders just massing on there.
Oh,
it was really freaky.
I recommend you blink and then keep your eyes closed.
No, it's like, wow. Some people saw that, they just left. It's really it was really not cool.
Yeah, I lost Tack during this event. His phone died, so I went around screaming Dan Tack around the docks, and then one of GI fans came up to me and was like, "Are you JV?" I said, "Yes, I'm looking for Dan Tack. Have you seen him?" No. It was great.
What a classic fan interaction. Well, what about the fans? What were they gravitating towards this year at PAX?
The same kind of things. The big community PC games like League of Legends and stuff like that. They have a less presence at the show this year than ever, I think, in comparison to previous years. But you still have all the cosplayers coming out to really support it. So you can't go 10 feet in PAX without running into a League of Legends cosplayer, which is cool.
It's always the one you don't recognize what the hell it is for me.
And it was great seeing Overwatch make a big, strong showing there.
Yeah, who's the most popular cosplayer character?
Diva. I saw lots of divas, both male and female.
Tracer. Lots of gender bent tracers, actually.
Lots of gender bent divas as well.
How are the pants on those men with Tracer?
Tight.
All right. What about, how does Diva work? Do they have the full mech? Is it like a cardboard crap mech?
No mech. Just
no
Diva.
mech.
It's Diva out of mech. And then you saw them hanging out with Bastions from time to time, which is really cool.
That's pretty cute.
The Bastion's a tougher outfit to pull off, I think, because you can't really see or move in it.
Yeah, I saw someone walking around, just a normal guy with just Bastion's cardboard head on top. And that was his whole costume. And it was
That's
great.
perfect. Any Winstons?
I didn't see
I did not see a single Winston.
I don't believe it.
That doesn't mean there's not one there. I really think Winston's not a popular character.
I really believe with you. Believe you. But games. Let's talk about what you actually played.
Yeah.
Dan, it seems like you played at least one big thing, a couple big things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
And then, that's one good part of PAX is you don't spend your whole show playing giant games for hours. But this one I did.
Okay.
Which was Final Fantasy 15, which we've spent a lot of time with here in the office, as an organization anyway.
Yeah.
This was my first time doing any hands-on with it.
Okay.
And I got to play around 2 hours.
That's impressive. From the very beginning?
From the very beginning.
Okay, so when we were on the cover story, the version we played was still in Japanese, and it had the very, very beginning not in there, which I hear is like a weird flash forward in time with old Mr. Man.
I am actually can't talk about the story elements of what I played.
What?
Unfortunately.
What can you talk about?
Everything else. Except they wanted to keep the story pristine, so no spoilers.
Okay, so you can't spoil things specifically. Here's my biggest concern with that game. And it's not story specific necessarily. I'm worried about the localization. I'm worried about the voices. How do the characters come across in those opening 3 hours?
Very Final Fantasy. If what you've come to expect from the last 3 or 4 games is what you can expect for the localization.
Okay, but how does it compare to the Kingsglaive movie?
Oh, I would highly recommend that you see Kingsglaive before playing. It will make things make a lot more sense in the first 3 chapters.
Do you think it'd be really lost without it?
I don't think it'll be really lost, but it will absolutely help you. You'll be like, yes, I get that. You'll be able to connect dots in a fashion that it was more pleasing.
Okay. How did it feel to play this thing then?
All right, man. It's weird, right? So the combat at first was really unwieldy for me. I had real trouble getting into it. The regular combat is easy, right? You slash things, you switch weapons out with Noctis's conjure weapon mechanics. So you can go from big sword to little daggers to, you're constantly switching and warping around. You got the warp ability that lets you like set up attacks or get out of combat. You got dodging. So that's all fine. That's easy to do for anybody. But then they add like there's this whole system where you call on your friends, right?
Right.
So the mechanics for that, timing all that stuff together with your other stuff can feel really overwhelming at first, honestly, to make it make any sense. It's just like a lot of different key presses and combinations that, like I said, felt extremely unwieldy at first, but I did get the hang of it by the end of the play session.
Is part of the problem something that we talked about, and I remember arguing with Joe and Kim about it, I don't like them just throwing you the 4 characters out of the gate. Is that the part that's overwhelming? Like if they trickle it in one at a time? Really?
I actually like that because you should know... You get AP points, right, to put your stuff in. You should absolutely know like what you're getting, what you're spending for that off the bat. I don't like to have to worry about like, oh man, I don't want to put points at him because I don't know who I'm getting.
Okay.
Now you have all that up front, and you're like, I want to work on this character. I want to work on this character. I want to work on myself. Who knows?
I'd argue you need to work on yourself a little bit more.
Oh, well, I try every day.
Don't we all?
So yeah, the combat, a little ding there, but I think people will get the hang of it. That's the good thing. Like it definitely did feel a little unwieldy at first, but by the end of the demo, I was like weaving stuff in and out fairly easily. But it will take, again, I said this in the preview I wrote for online, that if you do feel intimidated by it at first, just stick with it for an hour or two. It'll feel better.
Speaking of feeling better, have they changed the way the car feels to drive, or is that still weird? Sticking to the road nightmare.
Car felt clunky. I tried to crash into opposing vehicles. The game wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
That's for the best, right? That's not a big deal. But manual control did feel a little unwieldy. I loved the soundtrack options that you got while driving the car. That was super fun.
For me, it was like techno remix of the Final Fantasy theme, and I forget something else that was
like they had the full Final Fantasy 1 soundtrack on there, which I love.
Really, the original version?
Yeah. And they had
That's amazing.
Final Fantasy 7, which I also love. So like, I was like, okay, we're cruising. Ignis, take the wheel. I'm just gonna listen to some tracks. I'll stop off and get this treasure chest.
So it felt good to explore the world.
Exploring the world felt fine, yes.
Okay.
I didn't like the car stuff. I don't know. It didn't resonate with me so much.
Right.
Maybe it gets cooler later.
Just pull off to the side of the road, just grab 4 chocobos and call it a
Right.
day.
So like the stuff like that, like the whole for lack of a better term, Skyrim-y open world feel. That's, you're going to go out, you're going to collect stuff. You're like, hey, I can make cool new recipes now, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like that. The cooking and camping, I enjoyed that. Making open-faced breakfast sandwiches. Everyone's full. Everyone's, me. I love breakfast sandwiches and I love food. But
first thing you got to know about Dan Tag is he loves a good breakfast sandwich.
Mm-hmm. And they're very specific about it in this game too. It's not just breakfast sandwich; it's like open-faced breakfast sandwich.
Oh, they're foodies over there for sure.
Love it.
Okay, so you went in with what level of anticipation for 15 after playing 3 hours? Where did you leave?
I want to play it. I have to play more. Unfortunately, I usually can say whether I'm going to like a game after 2 hours. That's a significant investment.
Yeah.
And I hate to be one of those guys that's like, oh, you don't really get it till you're like 40 hours in, man. Because that's just stupid. Like, if the game's not good before that, it's just not good.
Yeah.
It's left me a little puzzled about where I stand on it, and I think I do need to play more before I make any kind of assessment.
The confusing thing, this news story made the rounds maybe like last week or so, but they're talking about how it's structured the exact opposite way from Final Fantasy 13. Where it starts out more open and then eventually funnels down, not in the chapters you played, but about halfway through the game,
Sure.
It becomes a little bit more linear, a little bit more focused. I'm really curious how the hell that works.
I certainly can't offer any assistance there.
Yeah.
But I can understand why that would happen, because even though you do have sort of the open world experience going in, they're going to have to tie the story up by forcing you down a path eventually.
Right.
The first Dishonored kind of did that because you're in that opening stage for 3 levels and it's huge. That first, I forget, where you're investigating the Inquisitor's office.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can do like so much there, like 5 or 6 hours, and then the rest of the game is just nope, go do these missions. Pretty straightforward. So I could see how that could happen.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I liked. I liked the camping. I liked the cooking. I like the exploration crafting elements. I like the questing. It gives you the sense of an open world, and you're still able to find out where things are without getting too lost. If you want to go off-road and explore, you'll find stuff out there, which is nice. You can farm very easily, and it's fluid. There's not like, combat screen, have to get out of it. It's all like seamless. Like, you go into combat and out of combat in the same place. They have enemy break-offs, which I'm a big fan of for Monster Hunter and stuff like that.
Breakoffs.
Yeah, so like if I'm smashing a monster and I hit him in his horn, I can knock it off and I get that item.
Gotcha.
That seems super. I didn't know that was in the game. I like the AP system. I was able to put all my points into like one of my support characters and just have him like be a crazy healer and back me up instead of putting all my points into my stuff. That was cool.
Nice.
A lot of cool customization there that I enjoyed. We'll see where it goes, right? Like, yeah.
Without getting specifics, are you intrigued by the story so far?
I don't at this point in time. I don't expect a whole lot from a Final Fantasy story.
Okay. All right.
Hey, you know me. Anybody, I'm not trying to diss the game, Final Fantasy fans, in any way. I just like the old school, like, archetypal stories that they were really good at doing in the earlier versions of the games instead of these flighty, weird things that they do now.
Well, you can just pull your car to the side of the road and listen to Final Fantasy 1 soundtrack
You can do
and
that.
stare at the clouds
It's so
and have a
good.
great time.
That part was fun.
JV, what's the coolest thing you played at PAX?
The coolest thing I played at PAX was actually I'm going to cheat and say 2.
Oh my god.
I know because I'm that
cheater.
guy. Yeah, Strafe and Dusk. Strafe they're both sort of these first-person shooter games that are going for the 1996, 1997 sort of look and feel of something like Quake.
Yeah.
That period between Doom and Half-Life where things were, really pixelated but still 3D and fun, and you're moving super fast and stuff. And both of them have very different aesthetics. Strafe has been around a while. They kickstarted it, I think, a year and a half ago.
It has some amazing videos and Kickstarter videos.
Yeah. Like the production values on their trailers are hilarious. They had one with that was backed by Smash Mouth.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was great, but that's fun, and it's sort of the way that Doom is. Like you're just moving around, and it adds more. It's not just a Doom clone. You have like weapons you can customize and stuff.
Doom clone being used in the year 2016.
I know,
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's great. One of my favorite moments was because I'd played this earlier at another show, but this was a better version. There are secret doors that you can find that have retina scanners, and what you have to do is you have to go and find decapitated heads that are littered around the levels. But just because you pick one up doesn't mean that it's going to correspond with the scanner. So I mean that just means there are multiple ones around every level, but the rewards for doing so are pretty great, like upgrades and health upgrades and stuff. Now Dusk is the more interesting one because they revealed that about a week before PAX, and it's basically Cabin in the Woods first-person shooter style.
Okay, now
It
I'm
looks
very
really
interested.
cool.
The first half or second half of Cabin in the Woods?
All of it. It starts, in a cabin in the woods, and then you're in a crazy sort of Black Mesa facility, and then it ends in like the world of the ancients. Like
It's literally
going
Cabin in the Woods.
It's Cabin in the Woods, and it's
Chris
great.
Hemsworth ride into a motorcycle into a wall.
Nope, don't get that.
That was my favorite part of that movie.
It's a great.
That's a good part of it.
But like you have double wielded guns for pretty much every weapon, like pistols, shotguns.
Is this one just fast, or are they also going for like a retro aesthetic?
No, they're going for a retro aesthetic too.
Okay.
So this one looks more in line with Quake than Doom. Like
Okay.
even the color variations, But it was really fun. Like that was the most fun I had there. Like I played the demo level twice. I kind of cheated, just stood in line.
I just imagine like a bunch of kids behind you.
Come on, Tom.
Like an arcade.
It's
Yeah.
funny because
yeah.
that's one of the PAX. Not to interrupt, that's a PAX rule I have. If they're going to kick kids off the machine, I just say no.
Wow,
Like,
damn.
I'll wait.
What a hero.
I will never do that.
Lord of the PAX. So it's just running around with shotguns shooting mermen and stuff in an underground labyrinth? That's
Actually,
what's
it's
fun
like
about
KKK wearing like literal wizards, not like KKK wizards, but like floating, casting spells. You're basically killing a bunch of cannibals and racists, and it's
You
fantastic.
played this at PAX, right? It wasn't like at
Yeah, I
a
played it at
hotel down
PAX.
the road.
No,
it? Which is bloodier?
probably Strafe.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
just
'cause-
like blood galore. just
Yeah,
going
because
nuts.
you shoot monsters or whatever in Dusk and they explode, but it's like they turn into red mist. And Strafe, like limbs go everywhere. Like every single limb is broken up into segments, and you can like dismember them and stuff.
What a weird time for 2016 to have Doom come out. Everyone's like, oh, retro shooters rule. And now these two indie games are falling in line, but imagining we're in production well before the new Doom and people were so enthusiastic about it. But it's just a weird bubble of resurgence for, hey, incredibly fast-paced first-person shooters again.
Yeah, I think that's like largely a reaction to sort of the tactical, more realistic route, quotes around realistic, that first-person shooters have gone in like the last couple of years, like, with Rainbow Six and Siege and what's the other one? Arma.
Yeah.
Dharma, yeah, and all the offshoots of that and the imitations of that. So I think people have been wanting those offshoots or wanting the return to that sort of form for a while. And they got it with Doom, and now they're getting it with this stuff.
Yeah.
They tried it a couple of years ago with Rise of the Triad, and people just did not react well to that game.
Which was a great game when it came out, by the way. I gotta step in here
Please.
for a second. I think it's funny how we talk about all these resurgences timing with other games. I think that's after I thought about this, I think it's actually not true. It's just that the indie game scene has changed so much that you're going to have all genres of games be more represented all the time, pretty much going in the future because
And
of
just our own interest will gravitate us towards them.
because of how Steam and indie development have changed so much over the last 5 years. Like if you want to play that old school RTS, I'm sure someone made one for you. You want to play that old school shooter? It's out there too, right? So it's less of like a giant resurgence of all these old genres, more than just like, hey, we want to make this. And we have everyone available. Let's just do it. Someone will play it, right? They'll like it. No, really, it's like I think that's really how it's changed on PC, and especially with Steam becoming the giant that it has.
Right. It's an interesting trend then, just to think of wait for the big AAA release to reinvest a crowd in a certain specific genre, and then they'll just find those indie games naturally and be like, look at this crazy bubble.
Sure,
we did it. What a weird time. Anything else that really stands out from PAX for you guys?
I played a charming little adventure game that won't be out until 2017 called Old Man's Journey. That's actually kind of sweet. It's a puzzler on iOS, and you're playing an old man who's backpacking through what might be Europe or some fantasy.
And this is more Doom or
place.
Quake.
I'm sorry, old man's. I'm sorry, what?
That's the name of it, Old Man's Journey.
Old Man's Journey, just take a look at his life. You find out he's a lot like you were.
No, I mean that's you're backpacking through this country, and it's actually a very interesting puzzler because most narrative games that have puzzle elements as part of them, they're just kind of stowed to the side. They're not really that challenging. It's like, here we are reminding you that you are playing a game. Don't worry, fellas, you're playing a game. It's okay.
How old are you that you're backpacking through Europe? I mean, it's
Pretty old.
That's a hardy.
What's the puzzle? Trying to find a bathroom?
But you have to shift the hills that he's walking around.
Shift the hills?
Yeah, shift the hills, move the ground that he's walking
That's
on.
not a phrase, Jake. Yeah, shift the hills. What's the matter with you? You shift
it's
the hills.
it's like Populous, old school.
Okay.
A little bit, yeah. And trying to get him to jump from platform to platform. So he progresses through. And you can mess around with the environment too. Every little place has touches. When you enter the town, there's this old woman who's just glaring at you, and you can push her in the face and
close the window in her face, and then she opens them and then curses at you. Make out passionately with her.
This is so bizarre.
Wow.
What are the odds that this game's going to end with him dying?
Oh, totally.
Okay, 100%?
million%.
Yeah,
totally.
Okay, perfect.
It's how they do it. That'll
It'll be a real tearjerker.
He's just gonna walk off the cliff at the end.
Suda's also really Suda 51.
Speaking of old man, legendary game designer Suda 51.
Yeah.
He's re-releasing his first game that Grasshopper Manufacturer ever made on Steam next month.
What is it?
It's
The
called
Silver Case.
Yeah, the Silver Case. And I talked to him about it. It's a weird sort of visual novel text adventure hybrid. So it looks a little bit like Snatcher, a little bit. So we're gonna get time with that later on next month.
Didn't he do something with Snatcher? Wasn't he involved in that
Yeah,
radio drama?
He made a radio play called Sedacher.
Of course, cool. So it seems cool though. Did you
Yeah, it
play it
seems
originally? Did anybody?
No.
Well, I don't think it had a wide release.
Okay.
So this is the first time it's going to be widely available in America. And it's only going to be on Steam first.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get the sequel to that, which was weirdly enough never available anywhere except on 3 Japanese cell phones.
Of course.
25
Yeah,
World, I
and then
think
you
was the
can't
name
play
of
it
the
anymore.
sequel.
You can't play it anymore because those cell phones are dead. The services that provided them are dead, so they're rebuilding that game from the ground up.
I would love an orange box style repackaging of all those weird Japanese cell phone games that are unplayable. I feel 16 Final Fantasy variants came out. There's some Turks RPG from Final Fantasy VII that's only available on there.
A lot of them are still playable.
What, do I have to go out and buy a Japanese cell phone, Dan?
You may
Just
have
get it
to.
off eBay?
It's expensive. That's fine.
Horrible world.
But yeah, I got to talk to him about that, and Suda's always a fun interview because when I talked to him about Let It Die at E3, we spent pretty much the whole interview talking about Mad Max because one of his teammates brought it up, and he just kept saying Furiosa the entire time. It was amazing. We didn't talk about the game at all. But
He's super nice.
Yeah.
Guess what his favorite game of all time is?
Of all time.
Of all time.
Zelda.
Zelda 1?
Yeah.
Okay, JV.
His favorite game of all time. I'm gonna go with Tetris.
Wait, take it back. Zelda 2.
Okay, Serial.
Probably one of those old Aki wrestling games that he did not make.
Burnout Paradise.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, we did.
Well, I definitely never would have guessed that.
We visited his studio when we were on the Metal Gear Solid trip and did an interview with Tim where it was just him talking about his favorites. Just listing out like his favorite shows, favorite movies, favorite games, all that stuff. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
I heard a rumbling around the office that Dan and Mr. PewDiePie are now best buds.
No, but I did run into him at the show, sure. So if you're checking out the next issue, you might see him in there.
Did you give him a, hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
How'd that go?
very well. He's like, I like Game Informer. He did say that.
Did he
Those
really?
words he said. I wouldn't say that on the cast if
Oh
they were
my
what he said.
Does he always introduce himself by, "Hey guys, what's up"?
No, we did not do a bro.
He
fist
didn't.
or
He didn't
anything like that.
scream at you or anything.
No, it was awesome. He's really chill. He's a really nice guy.
I don't think I've ever watched one of his videos long enough to hear him not scream. So I'd be curious, like what he actually sounds like in just conversation.
Don't bash Mr. PewDiePie.
No,
Please, he's a fan of ours,
He
Jake.
does
We
a
will
lot
not
of-
No, I'm
stand
not
in it.
bashing him.
He does a lot of like special videos, like, "Oh, today we're going to talk
No,
about this
I
other
respect
subject
the
that's on a
man.
game," and he seems pretty chill in those. So it's very much an act that he does.
Yeah, does he
Yeah,
seem a little more relaxed at a party?
Absolutely, he's super cool, man. Like I have
Yeah.
nothing but great things to say about him.
That's so sweet.
It's
I'm
true.
glad you guys are building up those bonds.
We're not building up any bonds. Like it was a short thing, but he seemed really awesome.
That's cute. Serial,
Yeah,
Call of Duty, man.
that's right.
Are you a big Call of Duty guy?
I fell off of the series after I want to say the last game I played all the way through was Modern Warfare 3, and since then I've just kind of been checking in with the series for a while. But
Okay.
yeah, going to Call of Duty and XP and playing that for a whole 4 or 5 days kind of brought me back a little bit.
Just being immersed in that culture, like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to enjoy about these games.
I got
forgot.
into watching it like over the course of the weekend because like the big thing there was the championship for it. And by the time I was done, I was like, oh man, looks really cool because they're playing Black Ops 3 and that has a bunch of like more mobility options where if you press B while you're sprinting, you'll slide and you can boost and run on walls and stuff. And it was really fun to watch because there was like, my favorite thing was there's this mode called Uplink, which is basically like future basketball or soccer or whatever,
Right.
where there's 2 orbs at each end of the stage. And the whole point is you get this ball in the center and you're supposed to run it over to the goal basically that's floating up in the air. And you get 1 point if you get the ball in there, and 2 points if you and the ball are also get in there. But
future combat.
If you get the
Yeah.
dunk, man, I remember playing. It's
serious
good.
hardcore military operations. Obviously.
right.
So the cool thing was that like there was one of the teams kept running along the edges of the stage, and they like chuck the ball from areas where you wouldn't even be able to see the goal. They'd like chuck it over a building, and most of the time they would chuck it and immediately move back to the center because they knew it was going to land. And every once in a while it didn't, but it was just awesome seeing them from like throwing them from these ridiculous angles, and everyone would like get really excited, and then oh my god, I can't, like the crowd would just start cheering.
So it turns out basketball's fun.
Yeah.
Did Infinite Warfare look fun?
Yeah, Infinite. So they had a bunch of like, all of it was multiplayer centered. So the big reveal there was Infinite Warfare, which feels like the most similar that one entry has been to the previous one because so Infinite Warfare feels like a lot like they're going to take a lot of the stuff from Black Ops 3 and just sort of add their own twist to it. So all the sliding and boosting, all that stuff is back. You can choose your character class like you could in Black Ops 3. Like there's one class that has like the short teleport. There's one that has like they have like their super meters again, where when you get kills and over time you'll get like a super, and one of them is like a gun that fires black holes.
Jesus.
Which is pretty cool. But like I played some of it. I thought it was kind of fun. I realized that like sometimes when I watch, people play games competitively, I'm like, I should play that game. Then I realized, oh no way, because if I go in and play that, it's not gonna look anywhere like that. I'm just gonna feel terrible about myself. But it was fun to play that kind of stuff because I hadn't played a lot of Black Ops 3. I played some of it to catch up on stuff. But
Sure. So wait a second. Did they have championships for Infinite Warfare too?
No.
Like the pros playing that at all?
No, it was
Okay.
just that was like we had a press day where the press played it, and I did okay, and then I went back and played it during the
bragger.
public and just got completely destroyed. But it looks very similar to Black Ops 3, but I'm kind of down with the future aesthetic as long as like they don't stick around in it too long, because I feel like I don't know where else they're going to go from here, because this is as future as you're going to get. This is basically
you can
Halo.
go more future. We could get like time machine style future where it's just weird white
That's
creatures
true.
running around Earth.
And then they're going to go like post-apocalyptic, where it's just like they're just going to wrap around on themselves
Get
over
some
and over.
dinos in there.
It's
Heck
going to
yeah.
be like World War II in like 10,000 years from now. But yeah, the big, I think more popular than that was the Call of Duty 4 remaster, which was by far every day I went there was the most popular thing by far. There were a bunch of attractions near it, so they had like a thing where you can play laser tag. There's a thing where they recreated Nuketown, like in real life, and you could run around in that. And those were both around the remastered.
How much of Nuketown?
It was like the entire map.
Yeah, you got to do the whole map.
Yeah, so you could
That's
just
absurd.
run around and play like
Outside?
paintball, I think it was. Yeah. And they had all the houses and stuff set up.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, but I didn't have time for it because I was, there for work. But like those two were around remastered.
Holy
Man.
mama.
I've been in there.
Tack is really regretting going to PAX right now.
But yeah, they were both around the remastered line because I'm pretty sure they knew that this was going to be the big one. And like, oh, well, there's the line for this is ridiculous. So I'm just going to go to one of these other attractions.
Okay.
But that also ended up being the thing that I left that event going like, yeah, I want to play some more of Remastered because it is that game. Like that game is still really, really good. It was the game I did best in. It was and they added a bunch of stuff from the more recent games. Like every time it's all except for one thing, it's all cosmetic. So when you kill someone, you'll get the medals and stuff from like Modern Warfare 2, where let's say like Kingslayer and Revenge and Payback. So all that stuff happens. The interface is cleaned up. It looks a lot better. The one sort of gameplay-esque thing they added was a taunt. So if you press down on the D-pad, you'll get like a look at your gun, like you'll inspect your gun and stuff, which when you kill someone and then do the taunt, it'll show up on the opponent's kill cam. So that's kind of the extent of it.
All right. But other than that, it's being pretty faithful to the
it's been pretty
experience.
faithful. It's like they announced at XP that they're going to bring all the maps to that game eventually, whereas before it was just 10, but it'll be 10 when it launches, and 6 more down the road.
And that's all of 4's maps. They're not going beyond that and like cherry picking best from the series.
They did, as far as I know, no. Like it's just going to be all 16 of the original maps.
And you guys, Dan and Jabe, you guys were on the cover story trip. Is it Raven that's handling this entire remaster? Is it?
It's
split
3
effort?
companies.
It's 3 companies.
It's
okay.
Raven, Beanox, and Certain Affinity.
Beanox, really?
Yeah.
Is this their first time in the Call of Duty game?
No, they ported Black Ops 3 to the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's going to be good.
And now with Sony making the Spider-Man games, they're just looking for something to do.
Yeah.
Go back to Call of Duty 4.
But like from all signs point to that remaster being really good, which is it's nice to see, but it's also kind of like most of the comments on the story I posted about it were like, I really want to get this, but I don't want to have to pay $80 for it. But
so that's the way you get it right now.
Yeah, you have to get the Legacy or Digital Deluxe Edition of Infinite Warfare to play the remaster. But I'm guessing like they did this before with Modern Warfare 2, you could get the original Call of Duty, and then like 2 weeks after it was out. So we'll see how long they hold off on this.
This
one.
might be a longer exclusivity.
They will hold on to that for a while.
Yeah, I'm guessing like January or something. We'll get it right after the holiday season.
What's our guesses here as far as player counts in Call of Duty 4 versus Infinite Warfare multiplayer? Do we think that the COD 4 remaster is going to double how many people are playing Infinite Warfare?
I don't think so.
Well,
this is oh.
Go ahead. If the lines and hit counts on the stories that I posted, like I posted 3 previews, like all at the same time, basically for Infinite Warfare Remastered and the Call of Duty Zombies for Infinite Warfare.
Okay.
And the remastered story had like twice as many hits as the Infinite preview, and more than both of those other stories combined. So
people are nostalgic, man. It's time to bring that baby back. How do you think that campaign's going to hold up?
Well,
the single player
really well.
I played through the original version of it last year and still really dug it. Yeah.
What prompted that?
I forgot. I was doing something for Paste when I was a freelancer,
Okay.
like doing all Call of Duty stuff. So I've replayed through all of them. Sorry, flashback. But yeah, it holds up really well.
Oh, nice. I've never played all the way through it. And I got on the Call of Duty train really late, and first one I played all the way through was like Modern Warfare 3, so I'm kind of excited to go back because it turns out they're fun.
I still think it has one of the best like finales in any first-person shooter. Like people talk about that one level, what is it, All Gillied Up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love that one as much as other folks do, but the finisher is just fantastic. Like the last hour of that game is incredible.
It's like the finale to a Scorsese film or something. Well, not like wow, it's so well done or whatever, but it's one of those things where multiple things are happening at once, and you're just kind of seeing the repercussions of like everything that's happened in the story.
Okay.
Up to that point.
I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot more work on the campaign from what I've seen than they are doing on the multiplayer like touch-ups and stuff, because they had a whole panel about like, here's how we like looked at these environments and updated all the textures, and they would show like one shot of like, here's a level, and then here's the redone level, here's like, we've added, more whiskers to Captain Price's face or whatever, and the bad guy now has ear hair because he's really old or whatever. It's just they went into that
old man.
Yeah. They went into that kind of detail and everything.
Yeah, when we were on the cover trip, they showed us a side-by-side comparison of the entire first level, and it was kind of incredible to watch. I'm hoping they have that sort of feature that they had with the Halo collection, where you can press the button and have the original version, and then press it again and have the nice looking version. Like, I want that. Like, I'm just a sucker for that for some reason.
It's like the Monkey Island treatment, but it has to run on like the same engine technically, and that get kind of messy, I'd imagine, because that engine is just a slow evolution from id Tech. Those glory days.
Yeah.
So how was the Call of Duty community? What was the read? Was everyone just complaining about Infinite Warfare? Was there a giant red button for them to slam down a dislike on a YouTube video or something?
I mean, people were like, Infinite Warfare's all right,
Okay.
But everyone seemed really hyped about it. Everyone was. I think a lot of the people there were there to watch the championship. So everyone was talking about like, oh, like I want this team to win. Everyone was rooting for a team called Team Optic.
Yeah.
And they were eliminated pretty early on, and people got really rowdy. Like someone had to be escorted out when they lost.
Well, it's clearly rigged.
Video games.
And they have to escort me out if I was there.
Oh, Lord knows.
But they seem like a pretty lively bunch. They were pretty diverse from like you expect it to be a bunch of like white guys, and that was mostly what it was. But like there were more than enough like people of all kinds. So it was fun to see that community kind of come together. And I didn't. The weirdest thing, like two really weird things, is that like those poster boards they hold up at like wrestling events that say like here's like people hold up signs and stuff.
Waluigi amiibo.
Yeah, stuff like that. But like. The weird thing is, I don't know where they got these, but apparently they had like sponsored versions of those where on the back it said PlayStation 4. And then I guess maybe they were handing them out or you could buy them or whatever. So it's like, oh, if you want to like spout whatever you want for the audience to see, you're going to have to like support our brand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a weird turn of events to see. The other weird thing was the concert they had right after, which was a Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa. And like they're pretty good at what they do at this point, but
they're pretty good at what they do at this point.
Yeah. But it was just the thing that really weirded me out is, I mean, Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa both very much into illicit substances.
Sure.
And they had like these intense visuals of just like here's a marijuana plant behind this enormous screen, and it'll just break apart into joints and start spinning, and it was like this very surreal. Like at one point, it was just a minute of like this enormous weed plant just spiraling out and all these like weird like surreal visuals, and they were just almost after every song Snoop Dogg would just ask the audience like, hey, do you guys smoke weed? Are you guys smoking weed right now?
Are you guys cool?
Yeah.
Holden?
Would you like to smoke weed right now at this concert? Like,
how does the Call of Duty community respond to this?
They were crazy about it. Like, they were like, yeah, we smoke weed.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
You
like
good over there, Tack?
I'm just going to wander out of this.
Okay, cool. Well, that sounds like a wonderful time, Suriel.
It was fun.
Is this going to be an annual thing now, Call of Duty XP?
Well, they just announced this year that they were going to have a Call of Duty World League, which is a more structured version of what they've been having for the last couple of years, which is like the Call of Duty World Championships. Now there's like a whole tournament league leading up to this event that's a little more structured. But as to whether or not they're going to have more Call of Duty XP events, I think they will.
Okay. And you're interested. You're a big esports guy. Is Call of Duty back in your top tier now? Things to watch?
Like it'll probably be like if there's multiple things going on, I could see it being like it'll probably be lower priority. But if it's on and then it's like everyone's talking about it on Twitter, like I'll probably hop on and just to watch it.
Yeah, right on. Hey, fun trips, everybody.
Yeah.
God, a lot of fun travel stories in this episode. But I think that's it. Unless there's anything else, anybody's dying to get out there. Great.
TGS is soon. It's this month, but I won't be flying out there.
That'll be fun. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Game Informer Show. So thank you so much for watching or listening, and be sure to tune in next week. We're going to have a special edition episode going up that Thursday, but tune in for that. And thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.
Bye.